This
Slap me, daddy.
that's not what this is.
Uh-uh.
That's not what this is. That's for the main campaign. This is chill.
That is me being chill.
I can't stand any of you. Anyways,
Yeah, well, join the club, man. Nobody likes me, especially me.
oh,
Get on my level. I've been doing it for 36 years. You're an amateur at this point.
freaking white people, I swear. Anyways, hello and welcome to our Dungeons and Dragons podcast episode. This is a place for our wonderful DM to take a break from telling an amazing story and the chaos that follows, and lets us have a moment to talk amongst ourselves and let you all learn a little bit about us and our characters. We have a few interesting topics to go over today, so without further ado, let us gather around the table with our drinks and snacks and enjoy a moment around Ganta's table. So before we kick off, just a quick introduction from everybody, because we have a new person here.
New. I don't remember who wasn't here last time.
Me.
It was Nate?
Nathan.
Okay. Like, I know there was only 4 of us, but I couldn't tell you who they were.
So let's go around and do a quick introduction. I am Chad from work. I play Ganta Dormont, the monk chef from the campaign.
My name is Harlequin. I am usually your chaos-loving DM.
John or Enigma. I play Hero Oakenflame, the Bard Sorcerer.
Spencer.
Spencer,
We were
your
going
turn.
clockwise.
Somebody else go.
All right, well, I'm Spencer, or the Shaggy Sabersmith, and I play Norvian Shagglethorn, the High Elf Fighter Eldritch Knight.
I'm Azul Sky, and I play a Harrigan Druid, of course.
You play the healer because they barely survived their first goddamn fight without you.
No, Ganta, Chad barely survived. The rest of us were fine.
And
Chatter.
that was because of our wonderful new podcast member.
This is Nate. I play Lathier, the fun-loving, chaotic bastard known as Lathier.
Emphasis on the word fun, I'm sure.
At least for me.
And he loves
Yeah.
food.
If I'm having fun, everyone must be having fun.
It's a little thunder damage between friends.
Exactly.
I remember that. I remember that. Isn't that where Ganta will remember this first came from?
Yep.
Yep.
Kind of. So it was when you believe
Because you're like, I'll remember that date.
yeah. But also you also believed you were a social media influencer, so we got the achievement popping up on your fake live stream.
I remember that. God, we're dumb. Anyways, so today is all about characters. DM side, player side, and everywhere in between, coming up with NPC ideas, original PC ideas, references, influences, builds, design, voices. Basically, how did your character come to life? And to start things off, we will go down the line. I don't actually know who's going to be first in line, so we're just going to use we'll say Ventura, you're going to be first. Your character's
I would
inspiration
like
for
everyone
Azul
to
Sky.
roll for initiative.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So we'll do Ventura with character inspiration. So for this is mostly, where did you get the idea for Azul Sky or any of your characters?
Well-
References, inspirations could be from books, movies, TV shows, other D&D references.
I just think about it and just roll with it. I just look up classes and races, and I'm like, you know what? This sounds good with this. Like for this instance, for the Feywild, I was like, Feywild creatures, Harrigan. It fits.
Okay. Did
You telling
did
me
you
you create your characters like my ADHD ass did homework and book reports in high school?
Yep, no research, just going right in, just drive,
vibes. Just vibes.
just vibing.
So when you were coming up with Azul Sky, and you decided to go with Feywild, why specifically a Harengon?
I really didn't know what else I wanted to do, and I just want to do something that I haven't done yet.
Okay, is that why you went Druid?
And it was mostly to play off of your fantasies of furries.
Hey,
That was the original plan, and now then it turned into something else.
Just call it out.
for those who are listening, that's not an actual thing. It's a running joke, and I hate it. And I want to leave this friend group, but they're all I got.
It's been 5 years running, 4 years running now.
Editor Chad, cut that part out.
Yeah, I'll just timestamp.
Yeah.
And what about your other characters? Because we have the Shifting Sands campaign.
Yeah.
What was your thought process for Karnak?
Karnak. So we're playing Shifting Sands. I knew it was going to be a desert area. And I'm like, let me think something drier. And I was going to do, I forgot what the fish race was, and see if I could do something with that to make it make sense in a desert. And then I was just like, Karnak, he sounds better, and he could do things that I want to do.
For those who don't know, Karnak is a Loxodon, giant elephant, and he's playing the monk class. So he's beating the snot out of things with a couple homebrew stuff, but
yeah,
he's beating the snot out of things to also include his trunk, because that's a in-game mechanic he could use.
That's pretty good.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I love it, and he's big and dumb and stupid, and he's my favorite character.
Oh, I love him. He loves rocks.
So, listen, Rock,
So
chill.
Oh, so he's
Real thing.
autistic. It's fine.
You know what? He can like rock. Yeah.
Would be a good rock. Listen, part of the reason we picked our new apartment that we'll be moving into in like 3 days is because I can sit at home and watch the trains.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That tracks. That, yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, well, this was a great podcast, guys. I'm leaving now. Bye.
Outro.
Yeah, we're off the rails already.
Oh, shut up, Spencer.
Oh
What
my
was that thing
god.
you said? I'm,
God,
easy,
I
I'm
love
easily impressionable. You're learning
Yes.
well.
we should conduct ourselves
boy.
better.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, Spencer, you're next.
Okay.
This is your first ever campaign. God dang it. This is your
Yeah.
first ever campaign. I know from what I know about you, you try to fit Shaggy theme into everything. But for specifically the Witchlight campaign, why did you go with your why did you go on this path?
Okay, so I of course wanted to incorporate a little bit of Shaggy at least, which the name is kind of Shaggy inspired to start. You know, Norvian is kind of a play on Norville, like Shaggy Rogers' real name, and then Shacklethorn was just something that sounded elf-like with Shaggy in it. And I had a lot of help creating the character, so once I got the just Shaggy name inspiration, I kind of started to do, I had a lot of help from, Harley, multiple people in the group actually, just kind of figuring out how I wanted to play, and I figured, I'd kind of go with a fighter. Seems the most natural for, just something that wouldn't be too crazy to conceptualize. And I actually did some kind of, elf, Shaggy, Renaissance fair type outfits anyway that kind of worked for it visually. And, I have a lot of experience with the bow staff, so okay, bow staff pike, it's not a far jump. And then in the character creation, I also had help kind of picking the fighting style and the abilities to kind of also fit almost the Jedi vibe a little bit with, like, kind of like the mage hand being a little bit like the Force, and then some of like the lightning lore that was added recently, and then the witch bolt or whatever it was, kind of like a Force lightning, but just a little bit of inspiration that people helped me come up with in this group to give some familiarity. So I'm not really having to go way out into left field for the first D&D experience.
So aside
Honestly,
from
Sorry to jump on you. The thing that I think even Kat, I'm sure you'll be on this boat too. What I'm very excited to see is when, if you decide to keep playing with us past this campaign, for, third, fourth, fifth characters, the different stuff you'll do once you know the mechanics. Because I was watching, I think I even sent you the video. Someone was typing out the Scooby-Doo characters as D&D characters.
Yes, I saw
And,
that one.
Shaggy was a Beastmaster Druid.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of potential, but it's something that it's complicated enough for me as is without trying to go too crazy. So, next time it'll be a little more nuanced, I think, but
So aside from Shaggy and Star Wars, is it safe to assume that a lot of references and a lot of reasons why you picked your class and your race is because of real life aspects, like you mentioned the Ren Fair?
yeah, so I would say the kind of the fighter, the weapon choice, and the race, yes. The character backstory, not so much. I did kind of pull from Shaggy there as well, in some of the different Scooby-Doo iterations, Shaggy does come from a wealthy family. I know there was one where like his uncle had like a plantation, or was it his uncle? It was someone. But Shaggy's sometimes depicted as kind of wealthy, so I figured I'd use that as kind of the royalty background, and I think it worked pretty well with the dynamics of some other characters in this group. So, but yeah, the character class, elf, fighting style, weapon, based on real stuff. The character backstory, I wouldn't try to read at all into that. I am not royalty whatsoever. I do not come from a ton of money or anything like that, so I wouldn't read into that personally.
Your next character 100% needs to be an artificer, and you need to make a lightsaber.
Well, if you all want to help me with it, I'll do it.
hell yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do it in a
That's-
heartbeat.
I'll help you out with that in a heartbeat.
That's his specialty.
Honestly, I've been talking to a lot of just friends now that they're like, "Oh shit, you play D&D?" And I'm like, "Guys, have you not fucking met me? Of course I play D&D." Everyone wants to do one-shots now. So I'm like, "Fuck it. Let's all just test out a ton of new characters. We can take turns DMing. We can force Ventura to finally be a DM. Join us."
Yeah.
Join you.
Please do.
And then it's
Wow.
Shacklethorn's turn.
Yeah. And what about you, Enigma?
So
Where did the heart and soul of Hero Oakenflame come from?
honestly, it was. So I was going, like, you can ask Harley because she was around for all this. I was going through multiple different character concepts because I've always, like I said, I always felt more in the last episode. I'm more comfortable as a DM, so my characters have always been very classic, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, if you're playing rogue, it's going to be some mysterious guy who like was a thief for hire or whatever. I've played a bard before, and it was very like flirty and conversational. So I was trying to like piece something together a little different this time, since I knew we were going to be with these characters for a while. So I came up with the idea of a bard who paints. From there, I was just kind of looking for a class on the outside, and I was like, oh, a fire genasi, like, let's kind of meld these two together, and that's where the sorcerer part came from. Originally, it wasn't going to be a sorcerer. It was all these things that started with the one idea of a bard who paints. And then from there, I just kept, I would see something while doing some research and be like, oh, that would be a cool addition, and that's how I built out the rest of the character.
And what about some of your other characters? Do you still try to stick with a, for lack of a better term, like a template, like you mentioned earlier, like the rogue, sneaky boy, bard, charismatic kind of dude? Like I call them templates because it fits.
I mean, like, not so much. It really depends. I've played at a lot of tables that wanted to be very by the book. So because it was just like a lot of the people I played with, it was like their first or second time running a game or being part of a game, and they didn't want to go homebrew craziness or anything like that. So I've always been just like, template, like, here we go. But like I can't say too much because it is spoilers, but I had to help create a PC for our campaign, and being able to use homebrew rules for the first time in a long time and create some crazy stuff. You know, I was able to build out an entire character with like a bunch of different ideas. Just like, you know, it was kind of like, oh, here's the backstory. Okay, how do we make this backstory a character that fits inside the D&D archetypes? Oh, here's how we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of home brewing, but like overall, everything fits with inside what D&D's rule set is.
Like Harley over there looking like she's got something she wants to say.
I'm trying to decide how much I want to give you guys, because this is solid fun, and I would like you guys to have a little bit of context. I think all I'll say is John built the thing that is leaving those arrows everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
And he
All
got
right.
super creative, and I double checked everything, Chad. I triple checked. None of it is unearthed arcana.
Lord.
Both Nate and Remus have answered questions about this build without knowing what it is. Chad, you are the
Yeah.
only person that I have left intentionally in the dark, so this and one other thing you get to be completely in the dark about and have that player surprise.
And that's fine. I think we talked about it last episode. Like, I have not read anybody's backstories aside from helping Spencer physically build the sheets, sure, and a couple of like homebrew items that was requested. I have not read anybody's backstories. Like, I still don't know why Ganta and Azul are acquaintances outside of he just shows up at the Hearth like once a month. Like, I don't. Chad would probably know, but Chad doesn't want to, because like I told you, I don't want to be spoiled with this. Like, I want, because this is an entertainment show, I want it to be authentic. I don't believe in faking things. But with that being said,
But the other
Live
side
here.
of that,
Oh,
yes.
go ahead.
I was gonna say the other side of that is, as far as I understand, you're kind of a forever DM.
yeah,
So this is
But
my
I
present
don't mind
to
it.
you.
I like it.
You don't have to backseat DM all of it. Here's my present to you. Enjoy your surprise. I'm throwing you a couple fucking twists and turns when we hit Ganta's time.
yeah.
Very excited.
When Harley, she'll text me or call me. She's got, hey Chad, DM question. I'm like, let's go, full send it. I already put the mask on. Let's go. Some of the stuff that I've given her, or help her to understand, or just to put the mechanics where they go, we might not actually ever see it the way that I built it, because all I do is, it's kind of like with Hero's weapon. We can spoil it because the episode was revealed, or the weapon was revealed last episode.
It'll be
but
out by
I
the
built-
time.
I built the staff of the Mural Maker. How Harley runs when and how it functions after I've given her the base mechanics is completely on her. So I give her a template, a couple numbers, some definitions, and a visual. She does the rest. So even then, even though I know John has the staff of the Mural Maker, I don't know how he's gonna be able to use it, which is what I love. Like, Spencer, I put your numbers on the sheet and help you understand some of the stuff. I know nothing how you're gonna play it. I can imagine you're gonna hit things, but that's
Might
about
chop some people.
it. Yeah. And with that being said, our newest addition, Nate. How did you? Because you're also a DM too. So this should be really interesting. How did you come up with Lathier? What was your inspiration? What made this kooky, shatter casting asshole of a character come to life?
Really
Uh,
ADHD.
As Ganta will remember, this just shows up.
honestly, as a player character, I tend to not put too much into it because I want the DM to be able to play with it a lot more. I kind of go off of a philosophy of, make it as easy on my DM to, like, here's your lump of Play-Doh, make it into whatever you want. So when Harley was telling me, hey, we're doing a Feywild campaign, do something that you think will fit, my big thing was, okay, what do we need in the campaign right now? And she was like, well, we've got weirdos right now. We've got 2 bards, a fighter, and a monk. And I was like, okay, I could either be a healer or I could be a warlock. Which would you prefer? And she was like, what would you want to do on a warlock? And I was like, I can get real nasty with it. So basically, I was like, okay, well, I'll do an Eladrin because they're Fey creatures. They're descended directly from the original Fey. And so I kind of looked at it as, okay, well, if I'm building a character for a Feywild campaign, I'm going to make it match the themes and the overall vibe of that campaign. So Lather, being the chaotic little munchkin that he is, is his whole thing. Like, if you look at his spell list, it's nothing but like effect spells and like mainly just to like screw with people. I think Shatter's his main destructive spell, and Eldritch Blast. But he's also got like Vicious Mockery and Crown of Madness, and like he's all about like fucking with people and pranking people. He's just out to have a good time, and that's kind of how I build characters like that. Is I try to make them match the theme of the thing. Unfortunately, as a DM turned player, all of my characters tend to be a little chaotic. But that's
I feel like
that's from being stuck behind the screen and being like, I can't be as evil to my players as I want.
Yeah, because there are moments with Ganta where, because I played him as he's a more serious kind of character, because every single campaign I've ever DM'd, and Ventura can attest to this, every single campaign I have ever DM'd, no matter how serious I try to make something, there's a dick joke in there somewhere. There's somebody pushing somebody in the bushes just because it's funny, or playing pranks, and I wanted to do something a little different, and we'll talk about me in a minute, but like, I feel your pain, brother. I do.
And it's just a lot of fun because, like, I think I enjoy being a DM more than a player, having been on both sides of the screen. Being a player is a lot of fun, but like, and all the other DMs here can attest, you get the itch, and then you're like, okay, well, now I've played in this game and this game, now I want to do all this and incorporate it into my game, and this is what I'm going to do. And like, half of my notes for this games are like, and I could add that to mine, and maybe do.
Want my Fey Curses chart? I'll send you a PDF.
I have the PDF of it. You sent it to me before we started.
Fantastic. But
I mean,
That being said,
just oh, sorry. I was like, just to jump in, because something I thought about just because of the last couple episodes. Because Nate reminded me of it. I was like, the one hard thing I have as being a DM is like, I have watched my characters, like my players, try to make the most broken shit in the world. And I want you to, like, I need to say this for the other DMs in the room, because I know I've seen the look on Chad's face for sure. I did not choose my Bard college because it was broken. I did not think it was going to be that broken. And then it was just like...
It's not your sorcery stuff. That's your Bard stuff.
Yep, well, I know what I'm banning for my next game. Like, I know what I'm banning for my next game. Because it's just like, I did not like it was just one of those things of like, oh, I've never seen anybody use this Bard College before. This seems interesting. Let me test it out.
To
What?
be fair, I will come to your defense. The only reason that was so broken is the stars fucking aligned for you.
Yeah, it was chance because you could have.
I mean,
something else.
I mean, even still, yeah. Like I had to. Well, like I said, that wasn't even what I was hoping for. I wasn't hoping for the teleport spell. That's just what I got. But like, even still, like the last when we were fighting the Harlequin and I got the stealth thing that adds necrotic damage, I was like, yeah, like it's not super busted because these things would have died anyways, just because like they're kind of weak. But I was just like, oh my god, everybody gets necrotic damage on their next attack and they're invisible. Like that's a little much.
Pretty good.
It worked.
Yeah. So like it's just one of those things I was like, I want to tell Harley, like, I'm not trying to break the game. I was just trying to try something new, and now Hero's just a little murdery.
Well,
A little extra murdery.
I think as DMs too, we tend to look at like player abilities like as okay, what's the absolute weirdest thing I can do with this potential thing?
Yeah.
And so like when we get shoved as players, it's like, well, let's get real nasty with this, and we'll find out what we can inflict. And it's like, you know, this is the third campaign I've been a player in the last 3 years, and every time I'm always like, I'm really sorry, I'm not trying to mess your game.
Well, I can actually understand that. I can promise you guys, becoming a DM has changed the way that I play Baldur's Gate 3. Because I'm now looking at everything, and I've got my abilities stacked in that game. So I've got a sword that is enchanted, so I do lower damage, but I crit if I hit. If I can hit it, I can crit. I took Great Weapons Master, so that stacks, which means if I crit, I get an extra attack. And I'm a fighter.
Damage.
Like, I mean, I think part of it also from my perspective, I'm just like looking at it because like I think also the DM mindset is you're sitting there trying to be like, okay, what, like every DM prep you always go through the, okay, here's my next like encounter, how quickly can they kill it, how can I get around whatever ability they're gonna cast, yada, like you go through that thought process.
Guys, I've decided. I've been looking at the stat blocks. I'm adding 10 to everything from fucking now on, at least. You guys are killing my shit too quickly.
And
Promise,
so it's
the next podcast episode, I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on what I do to mitigate that.
Please.
and it's just one of those things of like, this was not like, so as a DM watching myself, like the throwing the 7 off the bridge, I was like, like, you know, that happens every once in a while. But like reading some of this, I'm like, oh man, like I'm sorry, I'm really not trying to be that guy at the table. You know, there's always that one guy who's like, I want to be the main hero doing all the damage, and it's like, you know, session 0, I could do like 5 damage a turn. We go through the entire carnival and we come out the other side. The minute I level up, it's just like murder.
Murder. With that being said, Harley.
No.
Hello.
You want NPCs or my one specific NPC?
Were you a player before this campaign?
Yes.
So, okay.
Got about
So,
10 years of play experience.
okay. So give us some ideas on how you create your characters, because I know you're the DM in this situation, so you're kind of like in the weird spot. But
I love experimenting with different. Well, so the way I created, and I think this is going back to what I was saying when talking about my Baldur's Gate 3 character. It's not silvery. She's a set of statistics. It's more like I understand how things slot together. That's how I built Light Class. How I build my player characters, obviously before the DM experience, was much different. I like playing healers. I like playing support, but that's because I like controlling who lives and who dies.
You want to be healed? Bow to me.
Fucking
please.
Just
beg
about.
for it.
I choose death.
Yeah, beg
Because
for it.
let's be honest. Healing is not bottoming. Tanking is bottoming.
Chad, what do
Yeah.
you like to do?
That's why I love playing tank, baby.
Blocking the sun.
Get out of the window.
Yep, block the sun, blow up the moon. I want to do one or both.
Tanks are fucking power bottoms, but they are bottoms nonetheless.
I know what I'm about.
But I love playing around with different classes and different races. I think the only technical healing class that I have not played is Paladin. I have not played a Paladin. I'm usually either a druid or a cleric.
Okay.
But based on personality I want, I will kind of match a race to that personality type. I think the character that was basically just, comments and backsass was a tabaxi. Because that's a fucking cat. There's characters that my friend did this homebrew thing, and it was like this weird kind of snake people. It used the lizard person 5e stat.
Yeah.
But aesthetically, it was snake flavored. She very much shifty, very dexterous, very slippery. I've always liked playing with personality matching whatever race I'm playing.
Nothing wrong with that.
But as far as Click Clack goes, Click Clack was tailored specifically for you guys.
Makes sense.
Ganta has the whole protect all women bullshit going on, so she's female.
Okay.
Hero has this fundamental need to protect, to be the hero, to do that job. So she's 2 feet tall. She's tiny. She's a little clueless. She looks very helpless. Norvian needs someone who, he's never really had a friend. He doesn't know if he's ever had real friends. He's been given someone who is just impressed by the fact that he's bigger, that he's a medium-sized creature and has friends. Like, that's enough for her. She thinks it's the greatest goddamn thing on the face of the planet. And she is not currently capable of perceiving, like, his worry has been effectively removed. It's not possible for her to like him, anyone but who he is. Ventura is the only one who I don't have something for, because at the time that Click Clack was conceived, he had not joined our campaign yet.
He's a wiener.
It's typically how it always goes, right, Chad?
He kind of kidnapped you in there. Phil needs, Phil's the group dad. Phil is, you've met the man. I really have no way to explain Phil. He's just Phil.
He's just Phil.
She's just Phil. She is kind of childlike in the sense that she has no impulse control. She is an adult. I will consistently say that. Click Clack is created as an adult. She just has no impulse control. And for Lather, she's another Feywild creature. She's a fairy dragon kobold. She was tailor-made to fit every aspect of the party.
You're welcome.
And then Chad built the stat block for me.
Like I said, I'm really good at putting numbers where they go. It's what you do with it afterwards is ticking my brain.
Yeah, no, all I gave Chad was I want her to be 2 feet tall and do big boy numbers.
Yep. So I did. She's not going to excel at everything.
No, she's not bright.
Nope.
Smoothest
And
fox
then,
rocks you've ever met.
and then you get to Ganta. A little bit of context. Ventura can attest this. Every single campaign I've ever DM'd to some degree boils down to one major mechanic, and it's food. No idea why. I have no idea. The very first time I ever DM'd, it was I forget the name of the village, but literally the party was on a task to guard a caravan from one side of the country to another because they're delivering different ales, different wines.
Yep.
And from there, it just went to they're just making party food all the time. And then other campaigns, even my table campaign, I banned Heroes Feast because I came up with my own smaller version that they can have access to now, as long as everybody is participating in it. And then even this last session with my Shifting Sands campaign, I had an entire quest line planned out and plotted, going from a major city to a small village for like a rest stop. I had this entire thing planned out and ready. All they had to do was just get to the next city. The entire session was nothing but turning their covered wagon into a Meals on Wheels.
A food truck.
They even asked how food handles in a bag of holding, and then I wasn't entirely sure, so I just said on the top of my head, you know what, consider it stasis. If food goes in hot, it comes out hot. If food goes in cold, it comes out cold. So they got the idea of just, fuck it, let's make a Meals on Wheels. I even rolled to see if the name Meals on Wheels was available, and I rolled odds. So yeah, it's available. So they just called their covered wagon Meals on Wheels.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Ventura, that sounded like the laugh of the fucking instigator. Am I right?
To
No,
be fair,
I just...
It wasn't him.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I just made the Meals on Wheels logo.
He did.
Oh, you just actively encouraged this fatherless behavior.
Yeah,
Oh, yes. 100%.
100%. He's a jerk. So
he a
we never
Gucci?
even got to the next village. We never got there. And it was a 2-day travel, and we played for almost 5 hours, and we never got there. Because they wanted to advocate their Meals on Wheels restaurant, food truck. I did get a little bit of background story stuff, shenanigans going, with some personality things, kind of like what we did last session.
Listen, last session, you guys were my own personal soap opera. I'm a just vibe.
Yeah, but to full circle, like for some reason D&D and food mix with me. And after coming to that realization, it was actually up until my wife got me a bunch of D&D themed related cookbooks that in real life that I actually have tried, and some of them came out fantastic. So I was like, all right, cool, let's give this a shot. That's actually how Ganta came to be, was because like some of the recipes that I've told you guys in game are some of the recipes from that book that I've made in real life. So when I was coming up with like inspiration, obviously me being a huge anime nerd, the first thing that came to my mind was Sanji from One Piece. I was like, I don't want to build Sanji. He has no problems fighting with his hands, hence why he stabbed Lathier in the leg with a chef's knife. He doesn't smoke because it messes up his palate. But then I started thinking about backstory, and it was completely lost to me for a second when I was building Ganta that Sanji has a horrific, tragic backstory involving his parents. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to actually have an awesome childhood. I'm tired of having, I was raised by wolves, a lone wolf kind of person. I don't get along with others, blah, 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 dark and broody. It's like, no, I had an awesome childhood. Like, it's very rare that I actually get to see players build a character that had either normal or awesome childhood. It's like, I want one. So yeah, Ganta had an amazing childhood.
Feel a little
David, on
called
the other
out.
hand, do what?
And I feel a little called out.
Well, no, like Because at
No,
this point, I had no idea what you were doing.
Oh yeah, no. Honestly, even my backstory is not that like.
Yeah, he just has a couple scars.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's more to him. To him and his people, it's normal. To regular people, it's like, what the fuck?
yeah.
Kind of one of those
Like-
cultural things.
Over
Guys are
here
just
looking like Vash the fucking Stampede.
right.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna have a great childhood. I'm gonna have loving, living parents until the DM decides to kill them. I'm sure, but I'm gonna have loving, caring, thoughtful, kind parents, an amazing life. Not extravagant, but enough to make kids happy. Sure. Parents thought my skills were good enough. They saved up, sent me to school, and then that's where the dumb shenanigans happened. And then I was like,
want
all right,
you to know, when I send my things after you, Remus built those.
okay, nice. But when I was going through combat, like how do I want him to fight? I started getting the inspiration from Sanji because let's be fair, like that was the first thing that came to my mind. And I was like, no, I don't want it to be Sanji. But I am an Ascendant Dragon monk. So I was like, okay, I got to think of something here. I don't know anybody who can just change elements like that outside of something like Fairy Tail, but screw it. You know what? Let's not give him a fighting style. Let's actually take away the idea that he's a fighter. So I took that away. So he can't fight. He's not a good fighter. The only reason he did okay with the Golem on the first session was because it was just a big thing that he could kick. That's literally it. Like Ganta's not a fighter, so I took that whole aspect away. So when actual combat happens and it's going to be a struggle, you'll see why. Think of his fighting style kind of like a mix of capoeira, but if you've ever been in a crazy busy restaurant, they're always like going around corners, sliding past people, like spinning with their stuff so they don't knock anything over. That is why he moves the way that he does.
He's just like a fighting server, essentially.
Yeah, that's literally it. Like think a crowded room and he's doing the whole sneaky
Waffle
stuff.
House employee.
I was just
exactly.
about to say.
He literally moves like Waffle House employee. That's why that's his fighting style, but it's not fighting. If that makes sense.
Honestly, I went to Roadhouse. Was where my brain went.
I was gonna say, if he was a Waffle House employee and he doesn't know how to fight, I'm gonna break some news to you, baby boy. As someone who worked at Waffle House, I had to pick up someone who was 4'10" to keep her from whooping someone else's ass.
Yeah, that's fair.
How'd you pick yourself up?
Go fuck yourself. You 6'7" unit.
6'6". I'm not a freak, okay?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's more or less where Ganta came from. Was just I thought about a guy who had an amazing childhood and a couple of anime references, and I decided, you know what? I don't even want to think about combat because I know exactly where my brain's gonna go. It's gonna try to meta.
Yeah.
So I was like, nope,
Meta.
not doing it.
Then you end up accidentally murking a bunch of it.
To be fair,
Yeah.
I kicked one rabbit one time off a bridge. You don't have to be a fighter to do that.
Oh no, I'm making a joke about myself.
Oh yeah, 100% you.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, the golem fight was literally just it's a big thing that I can kick. The bunny thing, it's just on the edge of a bridge. I have been careful on how I present Ganta in combat. That's why when he couldn't do anything when we were invisible, all he did was talk.
I mean, I do like to point. I just kind of picked up on it, but I'd love to point out, like, though we have this whole like brain function words. We have all these DMs playing player characters for the first time for a lot of us, a long time. And I find it so entertaining to watch these character creations because so used to players where like we've all had the lawfully good paladin who's great at everything. He's the cool guy. Everybody loves him. He's charismatic. He can do a bunch of damage. Like, the perfect D&D character that can do everything. We have people but watching like the DM characters and stuff like that. It's like, oh well, Ganta's in a DM party, but he can't really fight. Heroes in the DM party, sure, he can fight, but that's about all heroes good at. If it doesn't call for murder or intimidation, heroes basically shit out of luck.
Yep.
Lather's not good in a fight either, so it's like...
Yeah, Lather's not great in a fight. He's great at being kind of like a trickster and an annoyance when we need somebody to just like distract. He's great, And I find it just as like one of those entertaining things of like, I'm so used, like, when you get to backstories or character creation, you get so used to seeing players be like, there's nothing wrong with my guy. He has a tragic backstory, but he's fine.
Oh, the thing that I am definitely looking forward to seeing is the whatever happened in Lather's past. To give, and I think everyone else here is going to know what I mean when I say give Lather that special brand of Lather rage.
There's no trauma that I know of at the moment.
I mean, it's just hilarious because I think it really stood out the second time we fought the Herringons, where it's like, hey, we're gonna torture this guy. Ganta's just like, what? No, like, I'm not a part of this. And then just hears like Hero and Lather being like, we got him, don't worry. Even Norvian joined in. Like, Norvian was just like, yeah, I'm cool with torture, let's go. And you see like Azul and Ganta and Phil just like, we're gonna stay over here.
Spencer, you see what I mean when I said you start out King Arthur Knights of the Round Table and you end up in Monty Python. The difference in your campaign is the number of war crimes it takes to get there. This is the moment I was talking about.
War crime. But I loved it.
Yeah, there's no Geneva here, right? So there's no Geneva Convention to violate.
No, but it doesn't mean we can't beat Canada.
Yeah.
The thing my previous DM said was, you'll always start out as either Lord of the Rings or King Arthur. You'll switch really weirdly into Berserk, and then you'll come out the other end as Monty Python.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so weird.
Oh no, that's too accurate.
Yep.
Oh my God.
So, with that being said, we will move on to our next character discussion. Character creation, like the builds, the numbers. What is your process? Do you prefer to start with your racial? Do you want to start with your dice first and just see what the dice tell you? When you're picking your class, do you look for what you can do in the general sense, or are you looking for something specific? We'll start with Nate on this one.
It changes probably from game to game. With this one, it had a very specific class and race combination in mind, and then I rolled my dice. But in my friend Sydney's game that I'm also playing currently, I rolled the dice first, and I knew I was going to be a kobold. And I was like, let's see what kind of kobold I'll make. And then the dice came out, and I was like, I'm going to make this little bastard a rogue. And so he ended up with some pretty good stats, and I was like, oh, he can literally just fade into the ether. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, for me, it varies from game to game. If I'm trying to keep as balanced as possible, I won't even use dice for character stats. I'll just go with like standard array or point buy.
Okay.
But if I'm told, hey, roll for your stats, I'm like, this is either going to be really good, and I'm going to have a character with overpowered stats that I'll never be able to roll above a 10 with, or I'll have a character with like 3 8s as stats, and I'll only ever roll like 17 and higher. Just because the dice gods are like, hey, buddy, we're real sorry about this. Your character's race has a -2 to intelligence, so he's rocking a 5 or a 6. My bad, bro. At least he hit that orc real hard.
Yep. Or you get the wizard who has like a 17, 18 intelligence, but he has like a 6 strength.
I have played that character a few times.
The weak
in
frail
previous
old man.
editions too. In third edition, it was even more brutal. Luckily, with 5th edition, it's a little more noob friendly. But I remember in 3rd edition, if you had anything that was a negative, that was a hindrance, man. Your character was bowed.
Pretty nuts. When in terms of Lathier, is that the same process that you used? You knew you were building something specific?
Yeah, like I said, I went with the theme first with Lathier. I was like, I basically did the Yo Dog, I heard you like Fae, so I put a Fae who's Fae background in your Feywild. And then I was like, okay, we'll see what stats come of that. And I got pretty fortunate because I asked Harley, I was like, do you want me to do point buy or dice? She was like, I'll trust your dice rolls. And it's fine. Lathier doesn't have anything that's more than a +2.
Yeah.
So, my dice were pretty fair on this one.
When you were picking your subclass, what was the thing that was registering with you the most? Because as a warlock, you have different subclasses you can pick rather early.
So for my warlock, just because what was it? We had like a 2-hour conversation about our house, about like what my warlock's background would be.
Something like that. We went into a decent amount of depth.
Yeah. It was one of those, like, I knew what I was going to do. The main issue was trying to figure out how to execute it without it being like, oh, mine's the most special little snowflake in all of the game, and tra-la-la. And then I was like, but once I had...
Lathier was almost the Martin Prince.
Something to that effect, because coming from the DM side of it, it's hard not to be like, oh, I'm going to incorporate this player background into the main story, and it'll be a running thread, because that's what I try to do for my players at the table. But for me, being a player at somebody else's table, I had to be like, no, dial it back, you stupid. But yeah, once I came up with the background elements and I had all that, honestly, stats were the very last part of that.
Okay.
Because I knew what spells I was going to take. I knew what subclass. I knew he was going to be a Pact of the Tome. And honestly, I kind of went back and forth for a little bit between him trying to pretend he's a wizard. Because being Pact of the Tome, and I was like, no, because the spells I want won't fit with that real well. And I was like, screw it. People will know he's a warlock. Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thought process on Lathier. He was the easiest character I think I've ever built, because I knew exactly what I was going to do from the very beginning. As soon as Harley was like, Feywild campaign, do you want to play? And I was like, I'm either going to play a cleric or this warlock, and these are your choices.
I like it. What about you, Spencer?
All right, so my process is get a lot of help.
That's a good process, trust me.
You know what? Can't fail with that. Well, never mind.
Delegate, and outsource.
Synergy.
So I promise I'm not trying to pick on you, Spence. Me and Harley, we sat down together and ran the numbers and basically, I don't want to insult your intelligence because I know for a fact you know what you're doing now. Doing it, quote unquote, doing it for you. You still play it the way that you want. Like, I can give you all the numbers in the world. If you don't understand it, it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
When you decided that you wanted to be a fighter, how did you come up with the idea to be an Eldritch Knight?
So the kind of discussion was that I wanted to be able to, like I said earlier, kind of do a little force-ish type things with the mage hand. So it was kind of a fighter, but also a little bit of magic in there, and then kind of just getting some more informed opinions on how we could make that kind of work. And then I guess it just fleshed out from there. So it was kind of, okay, I want to be a fighter, but I still want to have, that kind of mage hand to move stuff and then some kind of magic abilities like that. How can we make that work? And then, fighter, Eldritch Knight, okay, that works. And then kind of just built out from there, I guess. But, both of you probably have a lot more info on the full process. It was more just like, okay, I kind of want to do this, and does that work? Okay, and just a lot of assistance on it.
Literally all I did was just put numbers on a paper.
I was there for that conversation. It was a Harlequin, not in her best state of mind, trying to help Spencer.
I was stoned as shit trying to build Spencer's character.
So kind of like the messages you get, Chad, which is the DM question. I got, John, how do we do this? Because character creation is one of the things I'm good at, and I was like, okay, well, like Spencer was asking honestly for a new player all the right questions. He was like, this is what I want my character to do. What can we do inside the bounds of D&D without making it overly complicated? I remember, I think it came down to Arcane Archer versus Eldritch Knight, and because he was like, I want magic and I want to hit things with a weapon. I was like, well,
It's the
fighter.
The advice that I had given is, a lot of people when they jump into D&D are like, I want to throw fucking fireballs, I want to do magic, and spellcasters are wonderful, but spellcasters can be kind of complicated.
I wouldn't understand that, Nate. Why would they be complicated?
Accuracy, apparently.
Accuracy has nothing to do with it. Friend or foe, I don't care how big the room is.
I cast Shatter.
Fireball.
Well, I mean, but she's right, because like, using Hero as an example, there's a lot of weird things I've started pulling off where it's just like, if you were a brand new player, you'd like, Chad, you've read the entire subclass that I've used.
Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, nah, I need to know. Nah, I need to know this.
Well, there you go. You have, oh my God, make your next in your campaign or your next campaign, make that NPC big bad, just that subclass.
Tempt me, dude. Do not tempt me.
But
I'm running Prime of the. I'm running.
But if
my next campaign is Rime of the Frost Maiden, I promise you, I might do that.
Like, if you look at my like character sheet, I have an entire page just dedicated to my subclass and all the magical bullshit it can do. And if a new player would, yeah, it's 12 different things with 12 different separate abilities on top of, I can cast guidance from a distance. I can do this. I can do that. Like, I can do so many things. It's kind of ridiculous. It's very limiting, but it's also very powerful within the limits.
Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, which I would just be totally lost even looking at right now. So it's.
I trust me, Spencer. Don't feel bad, because I watched Chad read it 6 times over while we were in the middle of the game. I could see his face going.
Oh, just all the math equations and everything.
Yeah, because like, it's just one of those things where you read it and then you read it again. And trust me, I read it so many times. But like, going back to Spencer, he asked all the right questions, and it was basically just, okay, this is what I want to do. What's inside the realms of possibilities? Okay, well, how does this sound, Spencer? Oh, that sounds great. Okay, well, now once we got Spencer and Harley in like a dedicated box, which was Eldritch Knight Fighter, I just let them go from there. Because once you
And I
get them
put
in that
numbers on
box,
things.
and then you put numbers on things. Now,
A lot of
Spencer's supposed to be good at math. He doesn't understand D&D math. But Harley's not good at
I
math.
have seen mathematician type individuals who could tell you the square root of 8,024 in 2 seconds. But you get them in D&D and they roll a dice and they will count on their fingers like 3, 4, plus 6, plus 2, plus 9. And it takes them forever. It's
That's
so
the worst
weird.
It's the worst part about being a bard. I've never really thought about this before because I haven't played a bard in years. You know how annoying it is being a bard with jack of all trades? Because I have to go, I can't just be like, oh, well, obviously I'm not good at athletics. Oh, no, I have a +1 at athletics. It's jack of all trades. Oh, well, obviously I have a high charisma. I have a +2. No, I have a +8 in fucking intimidation now. Like, oh, God, it's so annoying.
Oh yeah.
A lot of how we got Spencer's main ability stats was okay. It's like the what did I use? Did I use like the did I give you the tomato scale?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
Yeah,
you
you
did.
did.
You did. I remember that.
Oh, the strength is crushing a
Yeah.
tomato.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you're strong, you can crush a tomato. Like, intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting a tomato in a fruit salad. That type of stuff. And I'm like, where do you want Norvian to fall on these scales? And then I did the numbers, because I can give Spencer the numbers all day long. He's not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I mean, now it probably knows.
Now,
Yeah, no, I mean,
like,
I'll have an idea of it, but I won't know how to, like, make a fully functional character. You know, I could think, okay, this makes sense for the character, but does that actually work well to play is something that I wouldn't really know yet.
I want you to know, because I did your level up because we forgot to explain leveling up for you. To you, and so it was like 10 minutes before game, and it's like, did we level up? And it's like, no.
I was sitting going, fuck.
And I want you to know, I almost was like, I'm just about to drop an ASI right into your intelligence and watch you become like the strongest spellcaster in the group. Just because you would have, I think at that point you would have had a 17 intelligence and a 16 strength or something like that. It would have been ridiculous.
Jesus.
Right?
And with that being said, how about who we did Nate and Spencer? How about you, Hero?
Honestly, I am.
What is your mechanical process?
The mechanical process is, I'm always looking to late game. That is how I like to select my stuff, how I like to build my characters. I like to look at where I want my character to be, because a lot of these times, like for one shots, it's a different story, but a lot of these times, I feel like a lot, like character creation is a lot of like, oh, what can I do right now? And I'm always just like, oh man, I might enjoy it right now, but at level 8, I've played a level 10 sorcerer before. It's cool, it does a lot of damage, but you're basically just like meta magicking twin spell, blow up everything. Meta magic, twin spell, extend spell, blow up everything. It gets very monotonous. I always like to look ahead at like, okay, well, what can I do that will keep me entertained instead of just throwing fireball in every room I walk into? What's something interesting I can do with it?
Very out.
So I will, so I'll look at like, like when I came into this game, I was like, I'm multi-classing. I rarely multi-class because we started at level 3 and made multi-class a lot easier, was a lot more flavorful. So I was like, okay, well, how do I want to play this multi-class? What do I want to do with it? I looked ahead and was like, okay, well, I'm going to have, like, my goal is by level 9, we're going to have X, Y, and Z, Although it will be fun to play now, it will be so much fun to play at level 9 versus, like, at level 9, I just bonk thing with a stick harder than I did at level 8. That's not fun to me. Like, I love strategy games. Strategy games are like my bread and butter. So it's just like, I want to be sitting on the field like a tactician, like, okay, well, I can use this ability and then set up for this next turn where I'm going to be doing this, and I feel like super cool about it. There's nothing wrong with other people who are just like, I just want my bonk stick to do bigger numbers. If that's what you enjoy, I just can't personally, like, especially like, I don't know how many people played 3rd edition, Nate, or 3.5, Nate will understand this, where like, some of those later levels, it got like I'd be doing a 5-hour session with my buddies, and I'm trying not to like take a nap halfway through. I'm sitting here
just trying
playing.
to figure out the multipliers and add this and subtract this, and
I mean, I played 4th edition too, which was even worse. But it's just like but like late game fights weren't like, I cast 1,000 seals of judgment and smite you from the heaven. It's like, all right, I do 6. Is it dead? No. Okay. What are you gonna do? Oh, I did 26 damage this turn. Okay, cool. Moving on. And like the fun got taken out of it a lot of the times. So I'm like, no, we're gonna keep the chaos and fun in it.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of you, I've played with a few people where they did have like, I just want my bonk stick to be bonkier. But they had the most compelling and amazing characters into the design and backstory. Because like, yeah, this dude, he told me, I just want to hit things. I'm making a character that just wants to hit things. I do not care about combat. I don't care. He wants to tell the story as well, but he was kind of like shy about being a DM because I kept like saying, hey, why don't you be a DM? He was like, I don't want everyone's responsibility. I just want my own responsibility. So I just want to hit things and then be responsible for me. So this dude had his backstory, his character notes. He had like kind of like what Harley has like 3 journals. I think he's still playing now. He has like 3 journals of nothing but like character notes, session notes, NPCs, villages, towns. Like I saw a tab of random weather stuff.
He's a player every DM wants.
Yeah, he's like the perfect
where every
player.
DM hates because he'll fact check you on your own
Oh
story.
yeah, like are you retconning?
Hey,
But his
piggybacking
character,
off of that, I understand it now because I've noticed when I did my prep for our fake session 0, I had like 23 pages of session notes. You want to know what my prep is for the next session we're gonna play? I wrote down
What's
the
that?
bullywug stat block.
Chad found that out fast.
yep. My very first time ever DMing, that's exactly what happened. Like, I think I've said it on camera before. I try to plan the next session, maybe 2 sessions, because if I go any farther than that, Hero might kill the thing that we were supposed to take back home, and I didn't think to plan ahead for that. So, like with the Shifting Sands campaign, I thought about that. With the Shir Pasha assassination attempt, I wrote down 3 different outcomes.
And then I almost killed him.
Yeah, and then you almost killed him because you're an asshole. If he
Was
took
that one of the
no
outcomes?
damage. Say again?
Was that at least one of the outcomes?
No, but it was fun.
Yeah.
One of the outcomes, like the 3 outcomes, were the Shir Pasha, which is like the ruler of the city. Think Egyptian. The
Mayor,
Shir Pasha.
basically.
Yeah, the Shir Pasha takes no damage. They get all of the rewards because they're coming back from a quest. The Shir Pasha takes damage but lives. They get half rewards, and the Shir Pasha dies. They don't get any rewards. They just get to keep what they found. Well, the Shir Pasha took damage, so they were already going to get half. But because Karnak over there, Luna, did some bullshittery and
Cauterize his wounds.
Yeah, he cauterized his wounds, and that's not how healing works in D&D. So he just cauterized it. I made him roll damage, and he didn't kill him. But it was so funny that the guards were already like on edge, but because the Shir Pasha, he's kind of naive. Like he's very he's naive but very like intellectual at the same time. He's very commanding. He has like this commanding presence, but he just wants to have a good time. he thought that was amazing. He thought that was hilarious because none of this has ever happened to him before. So Karnak's over here saving his life and then showing him some other dumb bullshit. I had to give them a few extra small rewards.
It's
just
like
because it was funny.
Think about
That sounds like the
Xeno
Emperor's
and
New
Dragon
Groove.
Ball, or Goku and Xeno.
It sounds like the Emperor's New Groove. That's what flashed through my head. It's like he's very charismatic and commanding, but he's also like, I want to have a good time. That's all I thought of.
Yeah. Like his commanding side is definitely one of those, like, when he speaks, like, you know he's serious. Like when the quiet kid speaks in class, you shut the fuck up and listen. This dude's like, oh shit, I did not expect that. That's the Shir Pasha. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. Everyone does not want to mess with him.
And you had
Hey,
no
respect
plan
him.
if I did end up killing him.
Yeah, that was the plan. Like, I had no idea. We could talk about it for hours. I had no idea what I was gonna do. Like, and you rolled the damage, so I was like, oh. But anyways, with that being said, Azul, what is your process?
I love the gamble. I love rolling dice for stats and letting fate take control. It's so
What came-
simple, and
What
I'm
came
simple.
first, the character or the dice?
Oh, it's always the dice. No, I will actually do like the characters, the classes. I'll look through what I want with the class, and then I'll pick the character, or the class and then the race. And then I'll roll the dice, and I'll put that into how I want to play that character. Because the monk, the Karnak,
Okay.
I didn't make him with high dex. He's a strength monk.
Big old beef stick.
Big old beef step. And then the same with another campaign that we did, Ven. He was
Yeah.
very weak, low constitution, and low dexterity. But he was royalty that was sheltered. So I was like, it makes sense to put it into intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And he was a life cleric anyways, life domain cleric. So it made sense.
I'm still so sad we never got a chance to play that.
I know. I love
campaign.
Ben. Ben was so good.
I would
He-
love to play a game because Chad, I've never seen you DM.
You probably never will.
Wait, but you're a forever DM.
I know. Well, apparently not anymore.
I mean, I'm still of the mindset that everybody running a one shot would be really fun. Like just a fun little 7 weeks of like everybody getting a one shot. Like,
And I
Putting
could
on
care
whatever
less
one
if,
shot.
if Spencer has no idea how the mechanics works. In my mind, whatever Spencer says goes.
Yeah, what the DM says goes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's also one of those things of just like, I mean, like Harley still does it. Hey, what should I like? Is that history or Arcana? And one of us would just be like, oh, it's Arcana probably. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that works.
Well, I have no idea what I'm doing, so it'd probably just be something stupid like a tournament arc or something dumb.
Yes,
And I love it. I would love
dude, that would be so much
That
fun.
actually sounds great.
That sounds awesome.
Let's do
man.
it. Okay,
Take it away.
but
Okay, who's DMing the beach episode?
100%.
Oh,
He already-
Lathan. All right.
I
He
got
already
this.
said yeah.
Nay, yeah.
You didn't say it couldn't be a haunted beach episode.
I'll wear a bikini.
I mean, Harley probably knows this more than anybody else, but that means I have to deal with the tragic, second to last season. Like, I'm a really I am a tug at your heartstrings DM. I gotta do it. There's not a happy
Trauma.
ending. There's just a good end. There's just a better than it was ending.
Yeah, my table campaign has 3 different endings that they can go, depending on what happens that they could get. And right now, they're kind of leaning towards the bad side because they did not kill the reoccurring villain that I made.
Hint,
He's still alive,
hint,
and now
hint.
there's propaganda.
Ventura.
What's up?
Oh wait, not your in-person campaign, not your one with
Yeah.
Ventura.
Yeah, Shifting Sands, so far everything's going great. They just started.
Yeah, so far we're probably just gonna ditch the campaign and just
Yeah,
make
that-
money.
we're gonna have to talk about that off camera because that's so off topic, but it's so
Yeah,
funny. They're already talking about just saying screw the raising the sunken city in the sands, and just start a traveling restaurant.
Dude,
and I can't stop them.
I know this isn't exactly on topic, but it's still D&D related. I've had parties like that before where they're like, screw the story, I'm gonna go like just live like a normal person. I found it's so funny because the smallest things. I had a party that were like, we just opened up a pottery shop and like we're just hanging out in the main square. Like we have a pottery shop in the main square and everything like that. So I made the big bad evil come in, get really mad at the customer service and throw a plate down and shatter it and call everybody terrible names and disappear. And then they went and did the campaign just to kill him for that.
Awesome.
It's just
Like,
a player mindset.
It's just so dumb that it's just like
Yeah.
not to say like this would happen, but like they opened the food truck and they're going around and like the big bad evil guy left them a 1-star review. It's just like
Left
this
them a bad
mother-
Yelp review.
yeah.
Claimed there
But,
were
like
rats in
I
the food.
swear to God, players' minds are just gonna be like, you know, fuck this guy. We're gonna go kill him now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's exactly what's going to happen in the Shifting Sands. I'm probably going to have like a competing restaurant encounter, and they're going to have to go back and forth.
Oh yeah.
I have to roll initiative in the restaurant.
You know, I wanted an anime campaign. Food Wars was not the idea that I had in mind.
Oh my.
Oh man.
And
Don't
what
give him
about you,
ideas.
Harley? And what about you, Harley? I know this is your first time DMing, but you've already stated you've been playing for quite a few years. What is your process, your checklist? Do you do character design first and then numbers, or you see what you got? Do you fit a theme? What do you do?
Okay, so I want to remind you all how much fun you've been having on this campaign when I tell you this.
Who said anything about fun?
Don't be a dick.
Until I texted Chad and was like, "Hey Chad, I want to learn how to be a DM. I've been the campaign princess and someone else has done it for me, so I've also been learning to stat throughout this entire encounter." So the first step to my process is make sure that all the numbers are on the page and then figure out what they mean.
Okay.
It's amazing that you still can't figure out how to do the numbers after all these years.
No, I can do it now. I have figured it out as we've played because you know what, you kind of have to.
Yeah. Yeah, DM that can't do math is pretty useless.
I have a calculator.
1, 2, 3.
Pick number 3, my lord.
Listen, I've got 2 engineers in the chat. They can do my math for me. But the thing that I've really been going on is I try, like when I actually built Click Clack, because I did kind of start building her out, and then you helped me make sure the numbers were in the right spots. Was very much, I focused more on, okay, what should this character be like? And then use the tomato scale to figure out where those numbers need to go. Because we did point by for Click Clack.
Yep.
And not so much going, okay, well, she's a fighter, so we need a ton in strength. No, she's kind of a fucking idiot, so hitting things is her solution to most things. So she's going to have more stats and strength because that's kind of her big solution to stuff.
Yep.
I feel like as the kobold, she should be craftier than she is. She's not. She's dumb as a box of rocks. That's just how this one worked out. But it felt right for the character, and she might not be like the ideal, but let's be honest, guys, like John was saying earlier, like the perfect golden boy paladin D&D character, they get boring. They get so fucking boring.
That's why I try to incentivize my my players to when they do their dice rolls, sometimes I can't control that because they do everything in person with me. Because that it's not my command. It's what they want to do. They just feel comfortable rolling in front of me. They don't want to feel like they're cheating. I've had characters with their lowest stat being a 13. And then I've had characters where their highest stat was a 13. And I'm like, ugh.
Me looking at Lathier with his 3 14s as his high stats.
Yeah. Oh, I've had one person make a character, and their highest stat was 112, and everything else was 10 and below. Just by complete chance.
Karnak would have been 10s or above, and I'm like, I want him to have low intelligence, and you gave me something else for that.
Yeah, that's a homebrew thing for another discussion. On the DM side, if somebody really wants to fit their character's theme, I'm fine with them taking deficits for gains in other areas, because they really want to fit their character. A lot of people at my tables, they get really connected with their characters, so I want to give them the options to do so.
Give them the game fun. It's about the warm fuzzies.
Yeah. As far as my character creation process, first and foremost, obviously I look at the campaign itself. So kind of like what Nate was saying, like Feylost or Feywild stuff. Cool. I'm gonna pick a Feywild thing. I like that. That's awesome. I try to match that, but then Chad Brain goes off the bandwagon and is like, I want to make things that don't make sense first. In a lot of campaigns that I've played, like the goblins are like the party fodder stuff. They're just put there for quick fights, learning mechanics. And I'm like, I actually want to build a goblin that's crazy fucking smart. So I built Lackley, and he's a goblin artificer. Another character was a high elf who's essentially a fucking garbage man. Like his whole task was he was a janitor. They got into an accident, and he prayed, and a goddess basically, I know I'm summarizing, but he got into an accident, and a goddess heard his prayers and was like, cool, come on up. I just like going against the grain if I can. As far as builds go, I don't want a meta build. I don't want a game breaking thing, but I try my best to stick to the theme of what I'm building to the best of my ability. So like with Ganta, I do not want him to be a fighter. I do not want him to be good at combat. I want him to have his one trick pony deal, and it just so happened to be this one has nothing to do with anything but cooking. So like his sleight of hand stat, it's just used for cooking. Like he's not a lockpick. He's not a thief. So like in my mind, my DC for stealing something, yeah, I have like a +6 in sleight of hand, but I'm not a thief. I don't pickpocket. So probably not going to have a really good DC on that. I want to fit, I try my best to fit the theme as for as long as I can. But then after 10, 15, 20 sessions into the campaign, things might change. Maybe Ganta would learn how to fight from Norvian or Phil. Maybe enough things happen, and since everybody can cast magic, Ganta doesn't want to be the only one left out. Maybe Hero or Azul teaches them some magic. But as it stands, I try to fit the theme to the best that I can. And then the dice come afterwards. It's like, I knew I want to build a cook. Cool, got the cook. I know I want the chef's feet. My only option, a very limited option starting that out is at level 3. All right, I'm going to go human. And I know I want to be able to change up my my damage stuff, but because it's flavored for cooking, I knew I needed to have that option. Send a dragon. Boom. Now let's start rolling some numbers. Put the numbers in, do the math, make the backstory. That's my process. It's been that way since I first picked up D&D.
talk
dig it.
to Remus. What are you doing, John?
With just his mellow voice and everything, after he got done talking, I felt like snaps were appropriate.
Chat will work after dark, baby.
Like, I'm used to Chad being like, "Right on," and then he's like, "Yeah, so
Hey
you know
there, what are you doing?
the dice come out."
Casting shatter.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Nice come out. Yeah.
But I was talking to Remus, and I know that the entire build for Phil, and you guys, listeners, podcast listeners, we love you. You'll meet Remus probably a different day. But the build for Phil was essentially want to be a Midwestern dad. What do I need to do to be a Midwestern dad?
Okay, so for kind of similar, he wanted a theme and wanted to build around the theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
This is why I love me some Remus. so
I
alike.
just told him, look, my two rules are can't be from Unearthed Arcana, don't break my game. Inside of that,
Yeah.
have your fun.
Yeah, hero.
Didn't break the game.
Yeah, but you did get something from Unearthed Arcana.
It
and
was
then
by
you broke my
accident.
game.
Yeah,
It was by accident. The unauthored Arcana was by accident.
it's all good. It's all
And I
good.
haven't broken the game. It's
Yeah.
still fine.
You at BBG, you're gonna roll that teleportation thing again, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, BBG just gets teleported into a burning cauldron, and they just die.
I mean, I could, but no.
You're
no,
the
the-
DM put in some anti-teleportation bullshit.
But also at the
Yeah.
same.
Ahead of you.
But again, you got to remember that entire pay. Like, here's the thing: there's been
It's
some
completely
weeks,
random.
like we haven't bought anything, so you guys haven't seen it. But there's been some weeks where it's like, you know, I rolled thing that is a healing spell, and with the way our party works, nobody really gets hurt because everybody always has extra life. Thinks that Chad's bullshit, and so we're like, I think the most hurt anybody's been is like Chad in the
Lather.
beginning.
Lather took a lot of damage in that.
Yeah, that Paragon fight.
Oh, in that
He
Haragon
was-
fight, yeah.
he
Well,
was
you were
only
just
being
standing
focused.
out in the open shooting Eldritch Blast. Like,
Yeah.
kind of on you.
Not gonna lie, I kind of thought the rest of the group had my back.
Yeah.
I did.
I-
have one.
Yeah, I was behind
You know
you,
why
back.
Lathr's the only one that took damage? It's because Lathr's the only one that wasn't invisible.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of hard to make somebody invisible when they're in the middle of casting Eldritch Blast. It's red crackling lightning surrounding somebody's body, and then they shoot it at them. It's kind of hard.
Technically, it's just
Bet-
force damage. It's me basically doing a spirit gun, only invisible.
Yeah, but also, if I had made you invisible, the minute Eldritch Blast finished casting, no longer be invisible, and you still would have gotten shot by like 18 people,
Yep.
because we all still would have been invisible. I
Sorry,
killed
bud.
like 4 of them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually meant to use a couple of my class features that I forgot about. Like, I have Fey Presence, and I could have charmed them into basically effing off or made them afraid of me.
Honestly, you probably could have. Their stats weren't great.
Yeah, they kind of fell over like some rotting flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. I only got one.
Sometimes.
I only got one leg to munch on. That was bullshit.
Then you had 2 legs
No,
that you tried
yeah,
to reattach,
I was
and
saying,
that
you
didn't
had
go well.
2 legs afterwards.
Yeah, that's true.
I can eat it.
Yeah, we were like, oh, we'll reattach his legs. That way he can deliver a message, and then the person who could help us reattach him never showed up.
Yeah, which you chased him down because he didn't promise to show us where to go, and now he's dead.
I mean, also at the same time, we kind of did the bad thing with everybody's ADHD. Okay, we need to reattach his legs. Okay, well, we're going to go on a break, and we come back from the break. So everybody, there's gold in there. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Did
because with
anyone Lather still has his legs. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's probably dead.
He's
That's why I
dead
asked
now.
earlier, I was like, would we have like fixed him up? Would we have noticed? Because then Ganta would at least like left him something to eat to try to fix him up or something. He's like, oh no, you guys took his legs. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
You left him meal, but he just died. He bled out next to the food that he couldn't get through.
Like we went on a break, and then by the time we were back from break, everybody was just like,
Ooh,
"Right, the treasure." Yeah.
It's the exact same thing you guys did with Click Clack at the Slanty Tower. I'm sitting there waiting to see if anyone noticed, and the only reason you guys didn't end up having to fight the snakes is because of time constraints. Because if you had noticed Click Clack was gone sooner,
The only reason we didn't fight the snakes was because Pass Without a Trace is fucking broken.
Oh yeah.
Like, my God.
It's
I'll-
crazy.
Side
Chad,
note,
by the
I'm
w-
so glad I'm not rolling disadvantage anymore.
I want you to know, Chad, when you were like, I don't know, maybe Hero teaches Ganta some magic, and I'm like, oh, can we get you 3 levels in Bard and like get you College of Spirits?
God.
You really want to break the game?
Oh
Because
God.
I've been at a table where I had 2 barbarians, 2 paladins, and 2 sorcerers. It's not fun.
It will be. I promise you, it will be fine.
okay, listen, I kind of do want to do a one-shot at one point where the entire goal for everyone is just break the game. Whatever that means to you, just try to break the game, including the DM.
I mean,
Okay.
if we ever
That's
have
gonna
it,
be
if we have,
super easy.
if we ever have another pass week where like we can't get everybody to show up, oh my God, can we just like download everybody's character sheets and do a body swap episode?
Oh God, that would be
No.
crazy.
Oh no.
I would love to DM a body swap episode.
Oh man.
That would
like
be great.
like for conversation's sake, let's say let's say Remus is missing again next week for reasons. Maybe something happens with the mass charm and we do the whole freaking Freaky Friday thing, and all of a sudden
Whatever meal you cook, Chad.
I can't mechanically. That's I can't yet.
How?
Yeah.
I mean,
But
my
for
whole
fun,
thing is like,
Maybe that.
Are-
maybe
are we
Harlequin
doing
was
it-
just like, let's have some fun.
Yeah,
Chad,
it could just be.
I'd like to point out I'm the DM and you are cooking with technically Feywild ingredients that you've never seen before.
Yeah,
So
the last meal that I
technically-
made was something that I do know. So if you wanted to do something like that for story reasons, I 100% could do it.
I mean, also to be fair,
'Cause I
whatever
did make
witch,
I make that soul binding thing.
I was gonna say whatever witch runs our little area, we have just been, by we I mainly mean Hero, have been just going through murdering her minions pretty efficiently.
There has
Yeah.
been a lot of murder, and Hero has been responsible for quite a bit of it.
Most of
I
it.
think I think you've killed like 11 things.
I killed 8 on the bridge. I killed another 4 when fighting, what's his name?
Agden.
Agden.
He's been killing things rabbit fire.
Yeah.
It's population control. They're fucking too much.
They're fucking like bunnies, man.
Jesus.
It's a
I
hairy
don't-
situation.
This
Stop
is
it.
murder. No, this is pest control.
Yep. And with that being said, we are going to take a quick break, and we will come back and finish up our episode. It's fucking full fashion. Go ahead and wave to editor Chad. Yeah, I know.
I love this.
Yeah,
Come
trust
here.
me, I know. Uh-huh. Yep. Feel the love. And with that, we are back. Can't stand any of these guys. So, for the next topic of discussion, we are going to this one's pretty cut and dry, but just we're on the topic of character creation, digital versus paper. How do we
Digital.
feel about using hand-drawn maps, analog encounter situations, paper character sheets and cards and minis versus digital journals, digital maps. Outside of convenience, this is just strictly personal preference. And there's no particular order, so take it away, guys.
To me, it has to match the game. Like right now, I want everything digital because we are playing a digital game. My DM notes are physical because that's my personal notes. I like physical, but I cannot do a lot of the physical stuff in an online setting. But if we were all, meeting up in someone's basement and sitting around at a table to play this game, you bet your ass I would have printed maps, I would have minis, it would be all paper. Like, do what you want for your notes, but all my shit would be physical.
See, I'm on the other end. Outside of minis are always a plus, but I can 3D print minis. Outside of that, physical or digital maps, digital writing. One, because my handwriting's atrocious, and two, but also two, like, I've played with one person who had like the TV in his tabletop, so you could pull up a map on there and everything. And we put minis on top of the TV for the map and everything. But I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, do you know how great this is? Because he would sit there and like, if he like built out a room and somebody cast fireball in the room, he would have it almost ready to go, like a fire effect over the top of it, so he could like drop fire in where like wall of fire gets cast. Oh, okay, cool. Where the wall of fire is. Oh, you burnt down this tower. That's what just happened with that. Well, now I'm just gonna crumble up this tower really quick. And I'm like, dude, fucking awesome. It's so much better.
That's what I use for the table. Like, so I'm a mix of both. I'm spoiled rotten.
If mixed medium's a choice, I pick mixed medium.
Yeah. So some of my players, they prefer all of their like character stuff to be on paper, just because they like to flip the pages and they like to keep track of their spell cards and items and stuff. Like, I'll print them off if I need to, absolutely. Some people, like my wife, for example, she has like digital journals. Obviously, because we're doing Discord, everything is kept digitally for me. But I do have this little notebook here for every single session. So when something happens, I make a note of it and then I'll transcribe it later. But as far as DMing, I do have a TV on a conference table in my room.
Yeah.
You can't really see it because of the blurred effect, but I think I've showed it to you guys before. So I hook up my laptop to it, and I'll have my DM notes behind me and my screen and everything. I'll have my DM notes on my laptop, and then on the other side, I've got the the world map with the encounter map, a village map. Some of them could just be like JPEGs that I've made. While others, I'll use like Dungeon Alchemist to have like that real-time changing thing. So like you were saying with the crumbling of the tower, or like a fire or a wall effect or a water effect, I can just do it in real time. I've got LEDs all around the room here, and I've got tavern lanterns hung up on all the corners. So when we're doing like some ambient stuff, I just turn off all the lights and turn on the tavern lights up to kind of give it that little bit of an ambience effect. But I'm not against either personally. Like, I would prefer whatever is comfortable. But kind of what John was talking about, like, I need to have, like, I've got terrible fucking handwriting. So I will 100% write stuff down just to put it on a laptop or a tablet later.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing on a desktop right now, so it makes it super easy. But man, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to scratch off or erase gold 20,000 times in one session, and it's just gone. It's just destroyed. But with digital, I don't have to worry about that. But kind of like what John was saying, like, I 3D print my own minis, I 3D print my own towers. I 3D printed a sunken ship, like a submerged ship, just for the board. Like those kinds of things. Like, I 3D print stuff all the time. And my one of my players, she's a tattoo artist. She paints all my minis. Like I'll make a tower, like a collapsed tower, and be like, paint this, and she'll just be like, fuck it, full send it, let's go. We have a paint station downstairs in the garage, just for that. So try to do a little bit of both. Spencer, I know this is your first campaign, and so you kind of have no choice. But what would you prefer? Like
So-
if we could all meet up in like a basement, like Harley said,
Yeah.
or would
So
you?
if we were, I think I'd lean more physical then, but I like to keep the notes I take on paper and then migrate the other stuff to digital after that. So, the minis and all that stuff is super cool. So, that's always a plus no matter what. But I think if we were all in one place, then I'd probably just keep it physical at that point. Like Harley said, just fit the vibes for the most part. So, digital makes sense to have digital in person. Makes sense to have things just on the paper.
Before AI
But
and everything came across, and before I got into 3D printing, a lot of times we would just find like a picture online that just closely represented what we had, and then that got me the idea of like, I want this to be a little bit more authentic. So like, Hero for the very first time showing explaining himself to the character. I would love to be able to put that picture like on the video so the audience can see it on day one. Luckily now we've got some stuff on the way. Keep an eye out for that, people. But before we start the campaign, I have my players, and I don't care because it's on table and I understand that. But some people that kind of like what Nate does. Nate's an amazing artist, honestly. But some players they'll hand draw stuff themselves, and then I'll take that description, put it into my program, and I'll make a 3D model out of it, and I'll 3D print it. Theater of mind is fine, but when you got someone who's got my brain that needs to be able to see a thing to fully understand it, being able to see a mini, being able to see a tower, being able to see that firewall, it just kicks it up to that extra level. And no, I'm not a map mercer. I still do physical maps. Like I have in my closet, I've got like bins of like Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby stuff, like fake grass, fake trees, little icicles, blocks, cave stuff.
That's the dream, man.
Yeah, that's the dream bin. I have like 2 or 3 bins.
It is.
And I have little project boards. What are they called? They're like the little white ones that you can put like thumbtacks in. I've got those and a couple of map overlays that I bought. I'll physically build the map and put it on the table if I don't feel like building a Dungeon Alchemist map, because I just get that bug. I was like, I'm gonna build and see what happens here.
I've
What
never
about you,
got
Nate?
to play at a table that has that kind of scene building, and honestly, I would love to get to that degree. When I'm stoned and scrolling through shit, a lot of what I'm looking at is Dimension 20, and like the building they have on Dimension 20 is absolutely goals.
Oh, 100%. I do not have that artistic ability. That's one of the reasons why I like the screen that I have with Dungeon Alchemist. Like that's something I'm good at. I don't have the creative mindset to make a snow tundra encounter map.
If I had the time and the space in my apartment, like if I was in a bigger home, you can damn well bet I'd have a room of dioramas. Be like, okay, guys, today we're playing in the plains area, and here's a tower that I can slap on with Velcro or something like that.
Yeah, I started doing that, and you're absolutely right. If you don't have the space, like if you don't have like a designated room specifically for it, it's a nightmare. I could only have one map up at a time, and like I was telling Harley, pre-make some maps for the future. I tried doing that physically, and I don't have the space.
Yeah.
And that's honestly why, like, I like the idea of like the physical terrain tiles, but like the storage for those, because like even Matt Mercer, like he doesn't use a lot of that for his home game, because he runs his home game on the side still. Like he's got a separate one that he still plays, and it's like all the terrain that he uses is up at critical rolls, like warehouse that they have attached to their studio.
Yep.
And they actually just had to recently buy more space
Yeah.
because they did a little thing on their like subscription thing for it, and I was like, and they were like, yeah, we actually have to buy more stuff, more storage space for like all our props, all our background stuff, all of our terrain, because Matt just keeps buying all of it.
Yeah.
And then like Dwarven Forge sends them the stuff all the time for promo.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you guys are the biggest D&D group out there, and you bring us up every one of your games. Of course, we're going to just send you free terrain that's in like alpha.
Dwarven Forge, if Dwarven Forge, if you're ever listening, I do still do physical stuff. Sponsor. It'd be great.
But like with me, I prefer my players to have physical copies of their character sheets, because like, you know, we're all millennials, we're all fairly adept with tech, but like not everybody reads as quickly. So it's like, I feel it's easier to navigate a piece of paper and do that than try to like read through the menus and screens that various things have.
Yeah.
Because
Like the journal that I have is 146 pages, and it's because it's designed to hold 4 characters.
Yeah.
So the character sheet that I sent Harley when we first made our stuff, I had to manually drop pages just to make it all fit into the file.
Yeah.
Well, and I also look at it as like, for at least at my tables, like I want people to have the ability to access their character sheet if like their phone dies or the Wi-Fi goes out or anything.
Yeah.
Or if D&D Beyond chooses to be D&D Beyond and just kind of
Yep.
and it's like, you know, I use other alternative apps for mine.
Yeah.
But the issue with some of those apps is like it's hard to transfer the sheet off of them, and you're going to run into that with almost any of the third-party stuff.
Yeah.
So like I tell my table, hey, try to have a physical character sheet. You can manage it digitally, that's perfectly fine. But should anything happen, I want you to be able to have a physical sheet that you can look at, access your stuff real quick if you need to.
Yeah. So when I do something very similar, I'll especially when we made this, because we're doing Rime of the Frost Maiden in a couple of weeks. So when everyone's rolling their character sheets, they just wrote everything down. What I do is I put the things that will never change on the character on a PDF. It's like their name, their race, background, stuff like that. I'll leave stuff like inventory empty, their gold empty. I'll put their cantrips on there because most of the time cantrips don't change. Their stats, especially at level 1, your stats aren't going to change until level 4. So it's like, all right, cool. So I'll put their stats on. I don't mind reprinting a character sheet at level 4, because that means that we've used that same character sheet for probably 2, 3, 4 months.
Yes.
So I don't mind stuff like that. But I'm not going to make a character sheet for every single level because you changed your spells, or because you changed one spell. So I'll leave their gold, their inventory, their spells. I'll leave all that blank. They can manually write that themselves because they have to pick which ones they prepare and stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a cleric or a druid. But even then, I still have physical cards. And the character binders that I have for everybody, they have card sleeves in them. So they have access to all of their stuff right then and there. So they don't have to grab the book or look it up on Google. It's just all right there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Now, as a DM, almost all of my stuff is digital because, like, for all my sessions, I've got 300 gigs of just audio files because my sessions tend to run anywhere from 4 to 7 hours, depending on what happens in it. Like, I try to keep my sessions short, but every once in a while they're like, "Oh, we ran into this boss," and it's like, "Okay, we'll do combat next week." They're like, "No, we do it now," and I'm like, "Okay."
I've got a 3 to 3.5 hour headspace If
See,
it
and I'm
goes longer than that, then then I feel drained. I feel tired. My players feel tired. It's just like, fuck.
I don't know, because I guess because I used to run and play D&D like towards the end of high school and during college and stuff like that. I'm used to being able to like run 7-hour games with no issue.
When you would only have like Saturday off, and so you would knock out like these sessions in a Saturday.
Oh yeah.
It
When,
was
as a matter of
one
fact, the
game,
guy
but
who got
sure.
me into the guy who got me into D&D, like I had played other TTRPGs before, but my friend Glenn, who got me into playing like actual D&D, we would play Sundays because he was a biochem major, and so like during the week he had no free time, and like his wife was also a clinical biochem major, so she also had no time, and so like Sundays was you come over, you play D&D, you bring some food, and we're gonna be here for 7 to 8 hours with like a 30-minute break every 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I feel like
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be a lot better if I was only in one campaign. Like
Yeah.
I'm in 4. So my attention span can only go for so long.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, when you're running multiple games, more than like 2.5 to maybe 3.5 hours, it's like, okay, guys,
I,
we're Gucci.
I also think it tends to be player base wise. Like, I've definitely had some tables where you could see players tapping out at like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I've had some tables where like they're showing up in full, like at noon on a Sunday in full costume, still kind of hungover, like it's the last day of Ren Fair, but they're ready to go. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like this is gonna go on for a while.
Yeah, I've rolled up to games and like some of my players are like, hey man, can we make it a briefer one today? It's like, yeah man, okay. And then I'll roll up to games and they're like, we just drank half a 12-pack of Pib and we have coffee brewing. We're ready to kick some dragons. And it's like,
Dude.
Hey man.
I've had a couple like that too.
Yeah, I've rolled up to games where like, I was in college. On Saturday night, I was out drinking until 2 a.m. I would sleep as long as I could, wake up and be like, oh, 3 o'clock, it's time for D&D. Go over to the person's house, kind of like with my first food of the day and a coffee. We'd order pizza and we'd be there till midnight. And then it'd be like, okay. Like,
Start it all over again.
I feel like it's also like depending on the friend group, like you said earlier. Because if you got like if there's that 1 or 2 person out of like let's say 7 people total, and you feel like they're just like dead to the world, yeah, okay. But then you get like I can almost guarantee you, all of us here, if we had no schedules for like 2 or 3 days, everything is fine, the stars were aligned, I can damn near guarantee you, with the exception of a couple of breaks in between, we could run a 6, 7, 8 hour session.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, time zones might complicate it a little, but if there was nothing
That's
else
also,
going,
like, if like the stars were
yeah,
aligned.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If I
If-
have no sleep schedule, I don't fucking care. I will start playing D&D at 9 in the morning if I have to.
I was
I've
gonna
done
say,
that.
if we were talking like 2020 again,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that kind of free time that we had,
Yeah.
you better believe.
I kind of wish, and like, it sounds really bad saying it on camera. I'm not saying I wish COVID came back, but I'm saying like, if at least us, right? If we got together during COVID instead of a few months ago, which I love, by the way, but if we got together during COVID, I 100% guarantee you, 1, this would be streamed. 2, we'd probably be on campaign 2, maybe 3.
I would be dead
Like,
exhausted because I was in the middle of running my campaign and I ran a game 5 days in a row.
Yeah, it's like
just
not
back to
like
back.
just like
Would start-
every single day after I got off work, I had a game to run because like
Yeah.
my other players, like my partner, she didn't have work at the time because she was working at the Starbucks and the Target and they had shut it down because COVID. And then our other friends were working at Target, and they had almost no hours. And so, like, they were working, like, in the mornings. So, like, 2, 3 o'clock p.m., they were like, okay, let's run game. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, I need more time to prepare. And, I mean, but honestly, that week was probably the most fun week of D&D I'd had in a very long time.
You know, honestly, it's kind of one of those, like, man, if we could have done it back in the streaming days when all of us were on stream, like me, Chad, and Harley, and Luna was involved.
I was there.
He
was just there.
He was there for some
I was
of it.
there.
What is it called? Like, that would have been a time period where it's just like, yeah, like, wake up in the morning, let me go grab my coffee and like my breakfast, and like, yeah, I'll sit down and play all day.
We're saying it
I was
now.
streaming.
If we get stuck inside again, we're all just gonna start streaming D&D.
Pandemic
So
part
if
two.
bird flu becomes the big issue,
Yeah,
I guess I'll
we'd have to
start
definitely
OnlyFans
do
too.
something. We'd have to definitely do a different campaign or something, because it'd be kind of shitty to start streaming in the middle of session 15.
why not? It worked for Critical Role.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
If you want to catch up, here's a great time to plug our YouTube.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say.
I mean,
it definitely.
That'd be one of those things where it's just like, you know, yeah, we could do a lot with that, 100%. You know,
Yeah.
even if we started a secondary campaign and just like we're like, okay, well, 2 of our days we play D&D, and then you guys got the rest of the week. You know, we could stream for 4 or 5 hours and be like, God, I used to go 8 hours of, like, I've done 8 to 12 hours of streaming
How
without
many
like,
24-hour streams have I done?
I know, right? Like, I did a whole stream where I got sunburnt to hell walking around St. Augustine, and I was on stream from 9 in the morning until near 9 at night.
Yeah.
Just walking around, taking photos, getting sunburnt. Just it was awful, honestly.
We got horrifically off topic, but I love it.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
How about you, Luna? I know most of your D&D stuff has been over online, but in your perfect world.
Physical or digital?
Mm-hmm.
I think superior is physical. So if you have the perfect setup of either Brennan's or Matt's ridiculous maps that they build,
Yeah.
that will never be, or that will always be a 3D copy.
I agree.
But getting to that level is so difficult that digital is probably where you'll end up being, because you could do digital including like the surroundings. You have wind blowing, music. Note taking, I definitely do digital. Same reasons above. Horrible handwriting. And because of cloud, you could just upload it to any device you have.
Yeah.
So it's easy to take on the travel.
Yeah. The only downside is kind of like what Nate was saying. Like, in case something happens, that person's character sheet's just no longer there. They can't pull it up. That's why having that physical character sheet as a, maybe not a primary, but definitely at least bare minimum a secondary.
But I have so many devices that it's kind of hard for it to go down all at once. PC, laptop, 2 phones, tablet. All of that going out at once is ridiculous. Yeah, I say that and then
just an EMP goes off above you.
Yeah, EMP goes off. Oh no! Azul, where'd you go? The first of my concerns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's just drunk again. We don't care anymore.
Well, yeah, I guess he just went off and either died and Nate ate him or something like that happened.
Nate ate him. Not Lathier. Nate.
Just Nate.
Yeah, just Nate.
I will add to that too. Like, as far as like in-person games too, like I love drawing like the battle maps, because like I have the dry erase and all that, and you know, Chad, you and I have talked about it a couple of times, and Harley, me and you have also talked about it, where like even though my games are pretty like heavy roleplay, like once combat starts, it's like Art of War, motherfucker. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm gonna like enemies, if they're intelligent, are gonna use terrain and tactics and all sorts of different things against you. And I love like pointing it out to my table too, being like, okay, you guys are in basically a bottleneck. There's cliffs above you, and I'll use like things to like elevate the enemy minis or whatever. And I just love that physical aspect, and I don't think you can get that as often with digital, especially if you're running like 3-dimensional combat too. Because like if you're running any sort of flying enemy or any enemy that's on like a perch or anything like that, like you can do it in digital, but it's so much more work.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I'm running it at a table, I'm gonna grab a solo cup, and guess what? The enemy's on top of that solo cup, and he's in a tower.
I have plexiglass.
The risers.
Flight markers.
Yeah.
Like I have.
Yeah, those are awesome.
And even with the digital map, the TV that I have, like I'll still put stuff on top because, like you said, like, enemies will use terrains. Like my guy, like one of my guys, he's a card thrower. He'll use terrain, and it's so much easier for this hiding behind a tree if I just put a fucking tree on the screen.
Yeah.
Instead of just, it's there for ambience and stuff like that, sure, but then I can actually like put these boulders, I can put these rocks, I can put these walls, especially if you're in like a cave. I could put these stalactites and stalagmites everywhere. And like you said, with flying enemies, like one of my players before he died could fly, so we always just had that readily and available because it has a little slider on it. So
yeah,
it'll tell you how many feet you are. Yeah, it's only one size, but there's a marker on it. It's like, yeah, okay, I can look at that marker and say that he's 40 feet. Cool. I'm not trying to have a marker that goes this tall, like fucking Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
During the Vecna flight where he had to like stack them on top of each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Nope, not doing that. But at the same time, like because I don't have that creative bone, it feels limited. So using the screen is almost like a supplement.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, you got to use what works for you personally. With me, I do happen to be like a tiny bit creative, so I'm like, okay, I can draw out a reasonably detailed map in about 5.5 minutes.
Yeah,
and I'll do that and be like, okay, while I'm drawing this map, everybody like take a piss, go refresh a drink, because as soon as everybody's back at the table, these people are going to try to kill your characters, and you need to try and prevent that.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die, clown.
I need to do that.
But also,
gorge.
Gorge. But it also helps. Like I said, I do 3D printing. I 3D print all the monsters. And there's so much open source and there's so much free stuff. Like I'll still tip just because like this elemental knight that I found online, it's free. And this guy, he's got literal hundreds and hundreds of horror themed monsters, stuff with tentacles and like reminiscent of stuff like beholders and zombies and werewolves and spores. And I'm just like, no, dude, I'm gonna buy this shit. What do I gotta do?
Yeah, I'd say if we ever got to VR D&D where we could do like that in a landscape, that would be superior at that point.
That would be so dope.
Yeah,
Expensive
but at that point,
hell.
yeah, at that point, technology is not right there, so I will stick with the physical.
I don't know. Like,
when I talk about expensive, go AR.
Well, we have VR chat, which you could probably do something like that in VR chat because they have so many capabilities there.
Yeah, but stuff like this, I mean, it's pretty obvious we have no choice, but I still write shit down. And it's not just editor Chad. Like, I'll take notes. Like, Ganta will remember the fact that Lathier just cast shatter on his face. I wrote that shit down. You know what I mean?
Honestly, when it comes to that, and this might be a personal thing, when it comes to like character development stuff, I don't write down like character moments because like I almost think of it as like memories I would have with like people. Like if there was a standout memory like Lathier casting shatter on Ganta, if I was Ganta,
I'm never gonna write that shit down.
No, he's not gonna live down the Swan either, but we're still here.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
And there it is. Thanks, guys.
no problem.
Back.
Chloe, the
but-
captain, reporting
Yeah.
for duty.
Let's see myself out. Yep. Thanks, guys.
But
Hmm.
I'm gonna like, you know, like you have memories with people, like, you know, going back to like me and Chad being on streaming a lot together. I don't remember every moment on streaming with Chad, but I very clearly remember playing Monster Hunter with him and using the battle horn and just screaming, "I'm breakdancing on his ass" with Chad, and just having a laugh about it. So it's like those like when it comes to like character moments, like I never personally like writing them down because I'm like, I don't want to remember this because I think it will be important in the future. I just kind of want to, if it becomes important in the future, my memory should jog it, and if not, it's just one of those things that happened with somebody.
The only caveat that I have to that, because I legit thought the exact same way. Like plot point, like in super important plot points, Chad's gonna remember that. That's not a problem.
Mhm.
But then life happens. Ganta and Hero, like the campaign that we're having right now, everything that was said in the last session
Mhm.
was 4 hours in game time. But to us, it's gonna be it's gonna be almost 2 weeks.
Mm.
So Ganta might remember the thing that he told Hero before he went to sleep. Chad might not, because it's been 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, things that I know, things that I want to remember, I'll write down.
Fair.
Because I want Ganta to remember it. Because it's already bad enough Ganta forgot that Phil was there when we did the pack.
Yeah.
Because Chad forgot.
Yeah.
That's that, and it wouldn't bother me as much, but we're on camera now, so like, oh shit, I don't want people to think I'm stupider than I actually am.
Well,
Yeah, but like it's also one
Shut
of
up,
those
Lena.
things that but I like, to me, that for me that, like, and like I said, it's a personal thing, but for me that's a part of role playing. Forgetting those things, like, you've had those moments where you've talked to a friend and been like, yeah, so this one time I was doing this, and he was like, yeah, dude, I was there with you. What do you mean? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, you were. So like, I never, such human interactions and like normal interactions that we experience on a day-to-day basis, that I don't find it nearly as, I guess it doesn't make as much sense because it's been like a day in the game.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
still,
Literally, last
it's like,
session was 5 hours grand total. We're not
Yeah,
gonna
I
touch
mean,
that for 2 weeks. I'm gonna.
the-
Chad might forget what Ganta said in the 3rd hour of that session.
in the
2
15
weeks from
in the
now.
15 or like the 10 sessions, I don't even know how many sessions we're on right now. It's been a day and a half. 2
I
days.
think we're coming up on 11 or 12.
So like it's been
I
it's
was like,
been
11,
about
12 days.
that's what I thought too for a second. I was like, wait a second.
I haven't eaten in 12 days.
because like the carnival was day 1, from like 2 in the morning up until the end of the carnival, which was 8 at night. We didn't sleep. We did like another half day, and then another
We
full
slept at the
day.
end.
Yeah,
It's been like 2.5
Um,
days.
Yeah.
it's been like 2.5 days, and we've been
For
going
y'all.
for.
Yeah.
For
Look,
like
you wanted to wander off. That's on you. He's fine with it. He
Wander
seems
off.
okay.
Surprised Lather doesn't have like gray hairs forming, but then I was like, he's an Eladrin.
Oh my god, if Lather would have come back with like a survivor beard,
Those crazy.
That would have been-
like.
then like I would have expected Lather to come back with like the oh my god, what's his name? Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tom
dude,
Hanks.
bit.
Tom Hanks, like the beard from Castaway. Like,
Yeah.
if you would have come back with that and been like, it's been so long, and then just like ripped it off like it's a fake beard, I would have been like, yeah, that's Lather. There we go.
So,
I don't know if
Alright.
Eladrin can grow beards.
I don't know either, but it would have been
Do whatever you
hilarious.
want.
It was a fake beard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's it. He just was a fake beard.
Unless
Like he just does it to
me
fuck
that
with
you
people.
think Lathier would grow a real beard just so he could rip it off in front of people to traumatize
Yep.
them.
It's a
Yes,
real
he
beard.
would.
His hair
Yeah.
that he's ripping off.
Just
Which
blood.
brings us to our our next topic: character voice and personality creation.
Boy.
How? Part of it's probably going to be influenced by your inspirations and whatnot, but character personality and your specific voice that you chose. How did it come to fruition for everybody? When you've made, does it come first when you're creating the character idea? Does it come after you've already put it all on paper? How does it work for you guys? Let's start with Spencer.
All right, so I don't really have any crazy voice for this. I think next character will probably be more of a voice. Only focus on so many things at once, unfortunately. And, if I put too much thought into the voice now while I'm still trying to nail down the character and the mechanics and everything else, I think I'd keep slipping out of the voice a lot. So I figure better at least have some level of consistency in a voice and focus on the other things that are more important for right now than try to, for me, what would be a juggling act until I figure everything out and then keep dropping in and out of the voice, which would kind of probably ruin the immersion for anyone watching it more and anyone else participating more than just having a more standard voice, I think.
I'm just imagining just Spencer one day, like session 34, and he just gets super confident and super comfortable with trying out voices, and then all of a sudden Norvian just has this crazy, super elegant medieval knight voice. Just randomly out of nowhere. No fake curse, no nothing, just randomly. And we're just like, what the fuck is happening?
You just have to give a fake curse that they just got a changed voice and never get rid of it.
I remember my people's tongue.
It didn't taste good.
Oh, that's what it sounded like.
Marvin,
Yeah, I just fall out of a tree and my voice changes.
Or,
Your voice
surprise, guys! I was cursed this whole time. This is my actual voice. I sound like Chad, a douchebag swan fucker.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
I swear to God, it would just be hilarious if, like, at the end of the campaign, he gets his nobility status back, and then he's just like, you peasants, get out of here. It's like, wait a minute, what? Hold up.
It'd be even funnier if he just got an accent that makes no sense for royalty. It's like a
Back to the slums with you.
This is what I sounded like this entire time, but I
Oh.
was cursed.
I hope he turns Scottish. Like,
he's just
Yeah.
hating
Oh, yeah, we
for no
about sex.
reason.
Or like a really shitty Jamaican.
yeah. Well, it reminds me of you. Have you seen the video of the dude that's just like a normal looking white guy and he's singing one of the Shaggy, the reggae singer
oh
songs?
yeah.
Where he just nails the voice. So I think everyone expects me to do a Shaggy, Scooby-Doo Shaggy voice, but the last session it's just a Shaggy.
Shaggy from the song. Yeah.
It's just the rapper Shaggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the last session. It's just a Jamaican rap reggae singer.
God, that'd be so good.
Jesus Christ.
God.
I love you, Nate.
I would literally shit myself. Just like, all right, guys, it's been real. I gotta go to
It's
laundry.
been real. This has been fun. It's been real fun. This is too much for me. This is where I draw the line. Swan fucking.
Oh, wait,
all cool.
wait,
Casting
there's
shadow
one-
on my classmate, on my teammates. I'm cool with that. Fucking giant snakes in the butt. I'm cool with that. Nah, Shaggy sounding like Shaggy. Nah, I'm done.
Okay, but wait,
you're done,
would that
blood clot.
would that make Ganta the girl he was caught with next door?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
If it plays
He
that
had
way,
the
sure.
other key.
Yes. Ganta might not, but Chad sure will.
Oh.
So,
Oh man.
how did you discern your personality for Norvian?
All right, so personality wise, so I didn't pull too much from Shaggy for the personality wise. I didn't feel like it would have fit the character for him to just be, stoner who only eats food and, scared of stuff and things like that. So I kind of, I guess, figured out the backstory for the character and kind of based the personality around that. And I think it's also kind of impacted by the group of people that he interacts with, which I think makes enough sense for Norvian as well, because, like some of you have touched on, he hasn't really had a lot of experience with people who are dealing with him for him, titles aside, royalty aside, different things like that. So he's kind of just finding himself, which I think works well for me, kind of finding that character for my first D&D session. So I think I could kind of develop as the character develops, and it'll be relatively organic while still fitting the character's progression. So I think we kind of lucked out in that respect.
So it feels more natural just to kind of let it develop itself for you then.
Yeah, which I think makes enough sense. Yeah, I mean, I have general ideas of where I want things to go and what I want to happen, but, a lot of the individual interactions and character dynamics are kind of being just left to whatever happens, like some of the snarkier things are kind of just naturally occurring, but I think they make sense for Norvian, but I'm not wasn't thinking session one, okay, I'm gonna make sure I have snarky relationship with anyone, or this and that. So
you didn't set out to be the sassiest of bitches.
Yeah.
The sassiest of bitches. I love it. Oh my god.
Sassy.
I mean,
Rawr.
honestly, I'm gonna say I was gonna jump on the back of Norvian's or
Yeah, you are.
Spencer's.
Sorry.
I
Easy
I am
boy.
the same way where I'll design I'll have an idea of a character going in and an idea of what I want it to be, but when it comes to the personality, I feel like so much gets added in just from playing it and becoming that character that the vibe changes. There's certain things about Hero that I didn't think about at the time when I made the character that has now become a core part of his personality. He wasn't supposed to be very 18-year-old pissy teenager that also had a serious mode. He was supposed to be kind of all business all the time, and then we didn't have business to do. We were playing around at a carnival, and here comes sassy teenager who's just is this what fun is?
Now you're just a moody edgelord teen.
He is. Chad and I
Can
had
be.
a similar conversation because you told me that Ganta was, he doesn't shit where he eats, but if he's around women that aren't his co-workers, he was going to be kind of a womanizer. And then Featherine came along, and Ganta discovered he's not a hoe.
I mean, honestly,
Kind of ties into what John was saying as far as you can't prepare for everything.
Yeah.
When I built Ganta, I had a mental checklist when I was filling out his backstory to make sure to play him a certain way. But I also have, because I've run into this problem multiple times, where if you get put into situations how is this going to happen? You cannot prepare for every single situation. You just can't. I knew that I wanted to build Ganta as kind of semi-serious, wanting to get things done, but still young enough to want to have that little happiness come from his childhood to seep out. So when he got paired with Ventura at the carousel, for example, I can't deny part of it was because Chad knew the passwords for the unicorns. So I was like, no, I don't want to meta, because it's really hard, and I've been drinking, so it's really hard for me to keep my mouth shut. So I played it as Ganta was just I'm gonna let loose a little bit. He's out of the kitchen. He's out on this crazy weird ass adventure. He's frustrated. He can't cook anything, so he's gonna do the next best thing, and he's just gonna dance, have a good time. He had already got hit with the freaking "I'm the greatest bard to ever" fake curse, so he just let it loose a little bit more. Because as far as his innate personality, it's more when I was building them. I don't really use the personality tables in the D&D books because they're great for suggestions. They're great for starting points to figure things out. But every single session, every single campaign that any of us have been in, if you roll this personality of I'm a lofty dude and you try to be that lofty dude the entire game, it's not going to work. There's going to be moments where you can't be lofty being stared down by a bunch of jailers. You can't be lofty when you got a king who's about to behead your brother. Shit's going to happen. So I 100% agree with John, excuse me, where you got to leave yourself open. Like having a good standard, but then having that openness to develop, like what Spencer was saying. To me, that's better story writing. That's better character development. Going against the grain for a quarter of a session, half a session. Kind of like what was happening last episode, like Ganta talking to Hero. Ganta's like, I don't know. I'm not Phil, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to do this. But there's something similar now that nobody could prepare for. So let me do something. Because I am older, and I still view you as an 18-year-old. Let me do something. What would a 25-year-old do for an 18-year-old who's seen some shit? That's not Ganta at his core, but it's developed from Phil's core.
Like, I brought it up last session because it kind of dawned on me, but like we've had, like for some reason, Ganta's had 3 fake curses that are related to like attraction and like everything like that. Unironically, just playing my character, just kind of being in that zone, I kind of realized that Hero's kind of ace. Like we had that initial like, oh, Ganta smells good. And my immediate character reaction without thinking was, he smells like food. Let me try to cook him with fire. And it's like, wait a minute,
You
what?
can't prepare for something like that, which
And then we have
brings
you
out
looking
the
like,
authenticity.
yeah, we had you like looking beautiful and like, I like without even meaning to like think about it, I was just like, like Hero just kind of is like, okay, cool. Like he looks hot. Fine, moving on. Like where like it wasn't like me trying to skip out on role playing. I was just like, I'm in character right now. Like I'm just vibing with this, and like Hero's just like meh.
Yeah, Hero doesn't care. Hero, Hero can look at a 10 out of 10 Henry Cavill, and look at this 4 out of 10 Chad, be like, cool. It doesn't matter to you.
Yeah. Like, and I remember somebody being like, I expected you to play it as like he smells attractive, not he smells like you want to eat him. And I'm just like, just what happened. And I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Like the way I've been playing Hero is like, yeah, he doesn't have sexual attraction for people. Like we don't have that flirty. He's not a flirty person. Like, oh, okay, that wasn't originally planned. It just happened.
Speaking of, literally Featherine was not planned by Ganta in any way, shape, or form. It literally was just because of the funnies and nothing more.
And it's gotten so out of hand.
And I got put on, and in my mind, I just put myself on the spot. Why would Ganta give a shit about Featherine? Because I've already labeled it out into his personality that he's not really. He doesn't want to go out of his way to look for anything that's like a fling. Like he likes stability. He likes consistency. So why would he give a shit about Featherine? Well, I wrote myself into a fucking block here because, well, I wanted the funnies. And Harley did not make it easy. So I kind of rewrote in real time in my head that it's not so much that he's just not interested in women at all or really just partners in general. He's more into the exotic. He's more into things that he doesn't see on a regular basis, which still kind of fits the consistency level for him. What about you, Nate? when you were making Lathier. What well, you kind of already touched on it. Like, you're finally a player in that DM mindset. Let's throw some chaos in here. Let the floodgates open.
So, not gonna lie, when I was originally coming up with Lathier, he was gonna have a full Irish lilt to his voice. But like I was playing with it before the game started, and I was like, this just doesn't feel like him. So I went German with it, and that didn't feel like him. I went Russian, that didn't feel like him.
I shut up.
I went Spanish with it, and like nothing felt right. And I was like, you know what? I'll just use kind of like a slightly exaggerated version of my own, just regular speaking cadence and all that.
For
And,
others
like-
listening, there's nothing wrong with that. 100%. Like, some of the best characters I've ever played with have just been dudes talking as themselves. Maybe a slight pitch up or down, kind of like what
Dudes
Hero's
just
doing.
being dudes.
Yeah, it's
Dudes just being dudes.
it's just one of those things, like, you know, because I do a lot of voices for my table. I've done voice acting work in the past. I've helped my friends like voiceover animations, dub stuff for them.
I've
So-
always wanted to get into that.
It's a lot harder than a lot of people think, but
Oh, I'm
it's so
sure.
much fun. It's a lot of fun.
I had a buddy of mine a long time ago when I really started getting into voices. Like, I was perfecting my Goku voice and my screams and getting into it. She messaged me and she's like, "I'm starting a animated podcast idea. Well, podcast now, but it was like just a little TV show." And she wanted me to voice a character. I was like, "Oh, fuck it, full send it, let's go." She wanted me to basically do like a German Mickey Mouse, and I'm like, I'm nowhere near that.
You're like, I can't. I don't even know what that sounds like.
I don't even know, because I'm a parrot. I'm not a.
Yeah.
I could probably do that with some prep time, but it would take
Yeah.
me like about a week or so of trying to figure that out. Speaking of voice acting and Goku voice, Sean Schimmel's a hack. I will.
Classic Sean Schimmel.
He has two voices: his speaking voice and his Goku voice, and maybe King Kai, which is just Goku with a head cold.
Yeah.
But
I
anyways,
love you, Sean Schimmel. He doesn't speak for me. I love you.
well, statistically, somebody has to, I guess.
Oh, so I see.
but
Make
no.
me hear a sassy bitch just so you could make all these comments that you store up throughout your day.
I love it.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing of it is like, and Harley, you've worked with me, so you know I'm sassy at work, no matter what.
Oh God, yes.
Sassy.
But you know, like with Lathier, like there was a whole like once I had the theme and I had stats and all that jazz, and I was like, okay, like how is he gonna act with people? And I was like, well, you know, he'll be friendly. He'll be sarcastic as hell, but he'll be friendly. And I think so far I've kind of gone with that pretty well. Like, you know, if nothing else, like Ganta and Hero have been his two favorite targets to just kind of pick at.
It makes the most sense. To kind of help out, and I think I told Harley this before session 0, when we're getting people together and creating a table for the very first time. I always tell everybody, I ask them 2 questions. Does your character want to go on adventures, and does your character work well with others? If either one of those are a maybe or an I don't know or a no, scrap that character, come up with something new, or see the door. Because there's nothing more painful. Like, imagine if Ganta just didn't leave the hearth. Just that,
To be fair, Ganta almost didn't leave the damn heart.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Chad wouldn't
Lathier
have-
almost
Chad wouldn't have
buried
let
him
it
there.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chad wouldn't have let it happen.
Yeah.
Chad wouldn't have let Ganta just stay there. But just imagine Azul just not leaving the witch light.
Yeah.
He's just like witch and light are like, yeah, go with them on their adventure. Go do whatever his backstory reasons. And Azul's like, nah, I think I'll stay here and make money. And then that's just the end of Azul.
we just cut back to Zool working a 9 to 5. We're all fighting like a dragon, and he's just like, "Do-do-do-do."
Yeah, he's wearing
Cleaning
a
up
clown
popcorn.
outfit,
Fucking
slowly
more
dying
pixies.
inside. Yeah, slowly dying inside, or he just dies from drug overdose at some point, like my friend Mark did.
Just overdose.
Character.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine that. Like that's
Celine
so
Dion
shitty.
starts playing.
Yeah.
I think as DMs, we've all run into like somebody who's been that player that's been like, oh, my person stays in the corner, and it's like, oh, he doesn't have motivation. Oh, that's cool. Well, then he can stay there, and you can either roll up a new character or you can leave the table.
Yeah, my character's
'Cause,
not
like-
interested in finding this king's relic because it's got nothing to do with him. So he's just gonna stay here in the tavern for the next 9 sessions.
Yeah, like, look, like I think
Don't
it's
come to the
always
table.
okay. Yeah, it's always okay to have you can have a broody character. Like, you can
Absolutely.
as long as it make like, you know, a couple sessions ago, Hero had shit night's sleep. I role played it as he's staying to himself. He's still communicating. He's still taking part in everything going on. He's just not in a good mood about it. That's fine.
That's
He's just
absolutely
like-
awesome.
Like, that's what you're supposed to do. But if you're just gonna be like, oh, well, I don't like other people, I'm gonna do this by myself. And it's like, okay, well then go play Baldur's Gate 3 at home, and
Go play
we'll
Skyrim.
yeah, go play Skyrim. Even you can't like. We're not here to. We're here to take part in an adventure together. That's like the core part of D&D.
Yeah.
The worst example I've personally interacted with, I think it was my second or third campaign, had a guy. Everyone made their characters, and this was before my 2-question rule. Everyone made their characters, and he said he wanted to play a rogue, dark, broody, lone wolf kind of guy, and I was like, sure, because in my mind, it's up to me to make you invested. It's up to me to get you on the path of working with you, having your stories intertwine and mingle with each other. Because maybe one of the party members' backstory could relate to yours. It's up to me to connect the dots to make everybody the main character. No matter how, and this went on for maybe 5 sessions. I let it go on for way too long. No matter how many times that I put quests in front of everybody's faces, the obvious, you guys need to go here, foot stomps. He just would not, if it had nothing to do, and he was looking for he was looking for his father's sword or something. It's like, hey, in Chad's brain, the father's sword is on the other side of the country because it was taken by thieves. I'm not just gonna put you on the other side of the country just because. Like, that's the point of the story. Like, your father's sword is a legendary weapon. You're not gonna
Build
get
that
it just
shit.
because you walk there. What's that?
We gotta build to that shit.
Yeah, we gotta build. And I told him probably like maybe the 3rd session is like, hey man, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to stick to your character and be true and everything, but you gotta understand, like, your father's sword is a legendary, like, because we built this character together. Your father's sword is a legendary weapon. You know what it is. You know where it's at. You don't have a way of getting there. I'm giving you the roadmap to get there. You're gonna level up. You're gonna work with these guys. You can still be the lone wolf. This is still your party. Like, this is a team game.
Mhm.
By the time session 5 comes around, he's literally just sitting there on his phone for 5 hours a day, a session. I'm like, all right, I didn't want to be the bad guy. 'Cause everyone here knows me. I hate being the bad guy. I don't want to be the guy that tell you to fuck off. But I had to. He was literally the very first person I ever had to kick off the table. And it's not because he did anything bad. He just wasn't doing. And it was just bringing everybody else down because everyone's trying to talk to him. He's like, he looks at you and nods and looks away into the off in the window and dons his hood. That's all he does for literal accumulative 25 hours of sitting at a table.
That's ridiculous.
I mean,
that was when I came up with and I still am true to these words, those 2 questions that I tell every DM, that I tell every table, every player. Keep your, like I tell you guys, keep your secrets, do whatever you want. this is a team game. If you cannot work, you don't have to work well, but you have to work with.
Like, if there's an RP moment where it's like day is not the day for somebody, I'm also I've had players
Absolutely.
players where, like, because of their storyline, they're just like, I don't think my character's leaving the tavern today. Like, they're not in the mood. Like, they just
Maybe-
watched their mother get killed and they couldn't
Yeah.
save them, and it's like, the rest of the party's like, that sucks, bro, but we're gonna go get some gold from a dragon, and they're just like, no, like, I just watched my mom die. I'm gonna chill here and like
look,
grieve.
My mom died from the King's Guard. That has nothing to do with this dragon. I need to process this. To me,
Yeah.
that's awesome roleplay, because while these guys are going off on the dragon quest, I can now take this guy, the depression guy, and work with him. Maybe he comes in later on the dragon fight and saves the day.
Yeah.
Or maybe the team gets defeated and they retreat back and they realize we can't do anything without this paladin or this rogue. Like, he's essential. To me, that's awesome roleplay. Not for
But if
5 fucking sessions in a row.
Yeah, if you're just gonna fucking
Not
I want to
because
get my
anything bad
father.
happened, but that's just because your fucking personality. Fuck you.
Yeah, I want to get my, like, you are the equivalent of somebody like, why don't I have a high paying job? Well, you don't go getting skills or looking for, like, it's the
Yeah,
same. It's just
I
like,
agree.
if you have no effort to be a part of something, then just don't be a part of it. It's okay.
And that's fine. That's why they have single player games.
Yeah, that,
I'm also
like
I'm also
try not to laugh, but you're really trying not to laugh. Like, that's not fun.
Yeah, like you gotta learn to let go.
Yeah, you gotta be a little
Yeah.
loose with it.
you gotta, like, it's not a competition to prove who could stay in character the most.
Yeah.
My character's backstory, I wouldn't be doing this, and it's just like, then your character backstory sucks.
Like, there is a such thing as objective bad writing when it
Yeah.
comes to your
Yeah.
character. And
I-
I hate how it sounds, because I want players, even us, my table, anybody on the internet that listens to this, I want everyone to be able to play the characters that they want to play. There is a table for everybody. It's just not most tables.
I mean, honestly, actually, part of this, what we're talking about, I do have a question for anybody else, because not even just DMs, like, players deal with this too. How do we feel about the chaotic evil? Because personally, I am of the mindset, I heard somebody gave me this rule years ago and I love it, and it's basically just either everybody's chaotic evil or nobody's chaotic evil. Because it sucks to have a party where one person's chaotic evil and the rest are, like, neutral to lawful, and they're having to, like, deal with the mess that's left behind constantly over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I've
Nate.
never dealt with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate. You look like you got some experience.
It
in
look-
this.
Oh yes, both as a player and as a DM. If the person is chaotic evil, but is still beneficial to the party, it's perfectly fine. There's a difference between chaotic evil and stupid evil.
Yeah. I
Because
feel the
a lot of people, when they play chaotic evil, they just play stupid evil. They're like, oh, I'm just going to kill this random shopkeep. Oh, I'm going to kill this random homeless person. Oh, I'm going to kick this kid in the throat. It's like, okay, there are consequences. Hey, you're in a town.
Yeah.
The guard is going to do this, and you're going to hamper the things. Well, it's what my character would do. That phrase,
I hate
there's
it.
a reason
Worst.
DMs online hate that phrase.
I know.
But like, if you're like, yeah, I'm a chaotic, evil person, and I slip away from my party every night to go commit a murder, but it's less like Jack the Ripper and more like the Subway Stabber,
Sure.
where they just like
Dexter.
walk up and kind of just like walk up, hit somebody in the liver with a knife, and keep walking. And that's how they get their kick. And then, like, towards the end of the campaign, it's like, oh, by the way, this person is responsible for the death of like thousands of people, and you guys have left that trail. Like that could be a fun story beat.
I actually really like
That's
that
not bad. Yeah, that's a good one.
because the first thing
I
that
don't
came to
know.
my mind was like the guy who would slip away at night is because he's appeasing somebody or he's meeting a quota.
I had a player in my very first game that I DM'd. He played a warlock. He was chaotic evil. His warlock patron was a demon, and so like part of their bargain was he had to give them a blood sacrifice every single night of some sort. It could be anything from a rat to a person. So like a lot of times the guy would just go kill a rat, or like if they were in the wilderness, it'd be like, oh, this squirrel is going to work for it. But his powers would be reflective depending on like what the creature was. But if he was in the city, he was like, I'm going to go full like Dexter on these people. And so like he'd go raid the local thieves guild and go kill like one of them every night. it's like, and then you have the opposite thing where it's like, oh, I've got my edgy rogue and he's chaotic evil, and this shopkeep said something I didn't like, and so I stab him in the face. It's like in the middle of the busy market.
I don't get
Yeah,
free
how do you
shit,
get to
so
be
you just
30
die.
years old, drop kicking orphans in the middle of town square? Like,
I mean, honestly, I've
A
had
lot of luck and fast feet, I guess.
I've had one chaotic evil game where everybody agreed to be chaotic evil, but it was basically it was a homebrew game where it was basically everybody was vampire spawns,
Okay.
and so it
Oh,
was a
that
party of
makes sense.
vampires who were
Yeah.
chaotic evil because they were being told to do shit by their vampire
Thralls.
overlord. The end of the game was vampire overlord dies. Cool. It's just one of those things of like, okay, well, this makes sense. Like, we're all evil creatures. We're all doing the bidding of an evil creature. Like, chaotic evil makes sense. You know, we had to be smart about it because we were hated by everybody. Like, I've seen tables where that one person plays chaotic evil character, and like you said, it's always, like, I won't say always, there are probably some good examples out of there, but 99% of the time I feel like a chaotic evil is just somebody who wants an excuse to do whatever the fuck they want the entire of the campaign.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I'm
you know.
lucky to never have actually experienced it. Like I've dealt with people just wanting to do whatever they want to do,
murder hobo.
but it's super easy to like push back on that and say, hey, mechanics, and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I've been lucky, but I've gone down the Reddit rabbit hole and I've seen so many horror stories of as soon as the party breaks out of jail, because the guard is on their side, the rogue just kills the fucking guard because he gave him his stuff last.
Yeah.
But the
Oh,
guard was
God.
on their side, like he's
Always-
working with them.
it's
He
always
freed
the
them.
rogue.
What's the point? And it's always like we're going up the spiral staircase, and then some guards show up, and the fighter is trying to like, we've got more numbers than you. You don't want to do this. Kind of like what Ganta was doing. Like, hey, we just had one guy take out 7 of your troops in less than 6 seconds. I promise this is not going to go well for you. But then the rogue in that fucking group, like, cool, get out of my way. He's like, no, we're not going to fight these guys. They're just doing their job. Well, I'm going to stab the fucking fighter so I can go and kill these guards.
Yeah. And the reason it's almost always the rogue
I
is
could think of that one.
the reason it's almost always the rogue is because like the way media has done like sneaky characters and stuff, it's always like, oh, it's the lone wolf badass who can do whatever they want. You know,
Yeah.
they're willing to cut a path of blood across this city, and it's like, all right, man, you're a pizza cutter. You're all edge and no point. Like,
Yep.
and it's like,
I like that
unfortunately, yeah, I've used that one so many times on people, but like it gets to the point where like it's such a tired trope, and like
cliche.
Yeah, and I like
my
rogues that are just like in plain clothes. Because like if you're a thief, you don't want to wear dark black leather announcing you're a thief to everyone.
Hiding in
My
plain
thief,
Oh,
my
the
thief
Assassin's
is, like,
Creed dilemma.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed.
My thief, the thief I'm playing in my other game, is currently just decked out in regular snow clothes, and he's like, guys, why would I announce that I'm a thief to anybody? And they're like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's like the minute he goes to a city, if anybody sees somebody wearing like all black leathers and all this stuff, they're gonna be like, what you doing?
That's suspicious.
The rogue
Yeah.
at my table, he's literally a real estate agent. He's
So he's a
100
thief
and-
class.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
He's
so
100
he
he's like
is.
He's 180 high elf, 100-year-old high elf. Literally the past 100 years, he's just been a real estate agent. The reason he's a rogue.
He should have been a lawyer.
Yeah, the reason he's a rogue is because after for like maybe the past like I think it was like 10 years in game at this point for him before the campaign actually started, he's been working with this pro people syndicate smuggling magic items and people away from the Kingsguard, away from the kingdom into unclaimed territory and settlements because they're of certain races. I told you that the
Pro
Mateo campaign is
people.
very political. So yeah, he's been helping smuggling people and magic items away from the king. But for 100 years, he's been a fucking real estate agent.
I mean, it makes sense. He has a lot of land that he could hide people in.
Dude,
Yeah.
rogues
The party
can be some
right
of the
now is in their third house.
characters. Like, rogues can be some of the best character builds in the game. I had one where it was a guy was basically like the Bible quoting killer, basically. He was a multi-class, but he had one level in cleric just because he was a part of a religious organization. And he was an assassin who was for lifetime that was saved by the god of the religious organization he was a part of, and he just killed people who were going against the church and would like quote quotes from his god while murdering people. And I'm like, this is so cool. And then I use a reverse grift katana wearing my black hood over that. I'm like, oh, you suck.
Yeah,
You're
you ruined
awful.
it. You ruined it.
Like that, like I've seen those rogues so many times, and like here comes like lawful good rogue. Okay.
So the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
Dark Lord.
Fucking
Skyrim.
Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda's
But,
coming
like-
back in again.
Yeah.
Well, but
That's
like
what I was saying earlier.
his,
Like when I make characters, I try to go against the grain just a little bit. Like goblins, predominantly known as party fodder. No, my goblin's a fucking inventor. Like he builds guns. That's why he's a Eldritch
Goblins
Cannon
build
Artificer.
guns.
He's a gun wielding goblin. He's a goblin gunner, and he's smart as all hell. And he's multi-classed and a wizard, for flavor purposes.
I don't
think
know. Maybe
that's
it's the Warhammer 40k in me, but I just love goblins with guns, dude. It's just
I never actually played.
God.
I never played.
I mean,
Warhammer?
I think that's why I like Hero so much, because he's like, you know, dragon slaying, monster killing person, but it's just like, no, I use magic. Not a knight in shining armor, like stabbing things. I'm not doing it the kingly way. I'm just like, dude, yeah, if I can throw you off a bridge, I'll throw you off a bridge. I don't care as long as you're dead. And it's such a fun way to be like playing this character.
I think Ganta is the first character I ever specifically made sure to put in his personality and his backstory that he can't fight. There's no fighting aspect to him.
Honestly, like looking at choices made, I know that she's technically an NPC, but Click Clack is definitely more of a unique one because I've been healers. I've planned out, their inside, their out, how they react, what their values are, this and that. Click Clack, I just do legitimately the first thing that pops in my brain. Whatever it is, that's what's gonna happen.
You're gonna love
it's
Chris.
just Harley as a small fairy wizard.
Yeah,
Or
basically.
Yeah.
Wizard.
It's funny you say that. That's literally Krista's character for Rime of the Frost Maiden is she's a Spanish elder themed fairy cleric.
I love it.
So
She hits people.
Azul
She hits
is
people with flip flops.
Azul is Alice in Wonderland, Mad Hatter, White Rabbit.
So you're the Marche.
Oh my god. So you're
Meanwhile-
Jefferson Airplane. You're Jefferson Airplane walking around.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I realized I didn't know
If you-
how to do an Australian drunk, so I was like, fuck it, I gave up on that accent.
Okay. And I don't know how many people are gonna get this reference. But if you make a fucking drop the toaster joke, glad Nate gets my references. I don't know why we watch the same media.
TG's and
Have you-
Todd.
I am
So-
always going to miss calling you the Hugh Jackman Easter Bunny, though.
Luna,
He was at one point.
if you want to be filled in, just watch For Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I still have not seen it. I see it all.
Ah,
I see clips
yeah.
of it all the time.
Yeah, I know about it.
It's a good movie.
Don't
It's
know what
weird,
It-
but it's good.
It's good. It's written by. It was based off a book written by a news reporter who traveled across country doing a bunch of drugs and ended up in Las Vegas because he hated his life in New York. But basically, White Rabbit comes on at a certain point. Well, things happen. Toaster gets dropped. You can probably piece the rest together.
Shocking revelation.
A new lore just dropped.
Left him toasty.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
Off track again. ADHD. My bad.
Okay.
Back again. What were we talking
So-
about?
What? So for another thought with personality, how difficult is it for you specifically, Spencer? How difficult is it for you for when you first designed your character to have like this open-minded development to actually act on those random occurrences?
So,
like for example, when Ganta and you had the moment with the handsome Squidward and
so
romantic
I
drama.
think after the first few weeks, I kind of just decided, similar to what Harley said, like, okay, first thing I think of, go with it. Now, not in a totally impulsive way for every single scenario, mostly for just interpersonal character reactions where there's not really a crazy consequence. It's not like, oh, big bad, run up and stab him in the face before we even talk or anything. That kind of impulsive, more of just like, okay, these are the party members or an NPC that's probably not super important. If something fun pops into my head that seems in character, I think I'll just act on it now, because I have a tendency to overthink things. And I know that, you hesitate a little bit and then that timing is gone and it just doesn't feel organic anymore. Like, to come in 10 seconds late. Oh, wait, well, I want to do this thing, and the moment is just kind of gone. So I'm kind of just, okay, funny idea happens, cool idea happens, let's just run with it, as long as I don't think it's going to totally derail the party or, like, totally screw up a combat encounter or something like that. So kind
I
of
think
just a little...
context is- Go ahead.
There's a, like, impulse control, just throw a little bit out the window sometimes.
I think context is the most important part of that, because like you were saying, like trying to do a funny bit in combat, but it just so happens to be that this specific combat is Azul's main story plot line. We don't know what it is, but for conversation's sake, let's say this combat is all about getting Azul getting revenge for the death of his brother. I don't fucking know, but for conversation, maybe funny bit, probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe
where like Hero is going through, like Hero is having a really emotional bit. I'm not just gonna like try to banter with him while he's going through some like existential crisis or something. Like that's just
how frustrating is it? Because I know Nate's experienced this, but how frustrating is it when you're narrating a very serious emotional thing, maybe a funeral of a party member, or describing a relevant death, or just an objective, not funny thing to any degree, and then you got that one guy who's just like, haha, fart joke.
I'm a little torn on that because like in real life, because like I've been to so many funerals, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Both of like family and friends, family friends. It's a whole thing. But like, you know, at least with my family, like we use humor to cope a lot. Like the reason I am as funny as I am is because of trauma.
Same.
Bang, bang, bang.
That's how I got through like middle school and high school.
Of course.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, anytime something traumatic happened to me, it was like, oh, cool, this is going in the old stand-up routine. But like, I know at the game table it's kind of weird because like sometimes it's like, okay, you know, you want it to be serious, you want it to like have like gravitas and all that jazz, and then you have somebody being like, oh, and it's like, and like me, I personally have trouble a lot of times holding it in because like I do find that shit funny because I'm 5.
Yeah.
I'm
but-
5.
I was like,
I saw that. I was
5.
like, yeah, I'm 5 too, buddy.
Big number
But,
5, my lord.
And I
But,
feel
like,
your pain.
like you want it to be serious, and like I think a lot of it just depends on your group. Like with this group,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's going to depend on the context. Like if we've been serious for like 20 minutes or so, we'll probably keep it pretty serious. I don't really see any of us being like, hey, we're in the middle of my traumatic backstory, blah 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 blah. Dick joke, and it's like, so anyways, but then like I feel like you have to like really walk a real fine line between like this is dramatically satisfying and hey, hey kids, lighten up. Feeling like Marge Simpson in the front of the car.
Yeah.
My gut reaction. This is not something I've ever had to deal with because this is a fantastic group, and I've only ever DM'd with this group. But the place that
You're
my
welcome.
brain goes is let them make the mistake because you might control the dumb jokes you make, but I control the NPCs and how they react to the situation you have just created.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you want to make that dumb choice, you can, but you don't get a do-over.
It's just real frustrating when,
Oh, obvious.
because this has happened. It's happened more so than not, and it's not so much like interrupting super serious moments with insert dick joke kind of stuff. My biggest frustration would definitely be if, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be funny, it could be serious, it could just be nuance. It doesn't matter. And I know for a fact it sounds narcissistic, but in my mind, this Dungeons and Dragons is one of those games where if the DM is talking, everybody needs to hush for just a second, because
Also
the DM is describing Lathir's backstory or this combat or lore drop or something. Like, take a second. I make a funny reference to an NPC that I named Mandingo. I might not realize that it means fucking giant wiener, and I got a table full of chuckleheads. Sure, that's completely fair. I get that, absolutely. But I'm describing how one of my we'll use Krista. I'm describing how her pet companion sacrificed herself to resurrect a party member, and Krista, not her character, Krista, my physical wife who totally exists, is crying. She's that far into her character.
Yeah.
And then I got another player who wants to talk about a football game.
Guess it's time for a new pet.
Has nothing to do with any of it. Has nothing to do with anything that's happening. He wants to talk about a fucking sports game.
Yeah, that definitely gets frustrating.
It's And like I said, I'm trying my best not to sound like an asshole or a control freak, because I have no control over what happens in our campaign here. Harley does, and I love it. I have no issues with it. It's just in my mind when the DM is speaking, especially with something dramatic, or hell, even just basic narration. When the DM is speaking, it's not easy for everybody, but everybody should just hold off. You're going to have that moment where you can be dumb and stupid and funny. You're going to have that moment where you can stand out and be the knight in shining armor, or cry, or have that super depressing, serious moment. Everyone's going to be able to have a chance to do that, especially at my table. I make everybody the main character at some point. But how frustrating is it for the other DMs here outside of the Carnival campaign? Obviously, I know that, but well, no, even with the Carnival campaign, freaking Ganta and Phil having their moment in the kitchen when Ganta's literally, Chad and Ganta are literally crying. And then Spencer comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Hey guys, did you know that my dick is 9 inches?" Seriously, dude?
I hate my brain. I'm so sorry.
Seriously, 9.
When it comes to I think when it comes to those moments, I've never had too much problems with what is it? I've never had too much problems with people talking over me as a DM. But in a similar vein, I've had a lot of issues with not Nate himself, but like the Lathier type characters who are just like, "Oh, hey, this thing's going on," and it's just like Eldritch Blast. And it's like, okay, well, no, this was like very important to somebody's backstory. Can you not try to murder them? And I know I'm gonna murder. And it's like,
Luckily,
okay, dude, like
we know Nate, and because how we've interacted with everything, Ganta and Hero 100% can agree that when Nate is going off on something, it's probably bad.
Yeah.
Justified.
So when Lathier is like, "I'm just gonna cast Eldritch Blast," Ganta is immediate like, he knows Lathier knows everything about this place, at least in Ganta's mind.
He's been in the Feywild for 3 years. He knows
At least 3
what
years.
the fuck is
so we're
going
like,
on.
Lathier's just immediately attacking this dude. Something bad. Okay, Duke's up. Let's go. Something's happening. I trust Lathier.
Yeah, but like
but I agree with you, John.
Yeah, there's those moments where it's like, oh, it's a player meeting their long lost parents, but because they showed up out of the dark, the other player is just like, stab them. And it's just like, chill for 5 seconds, dude. Let me finish narrating what's going on.
Yeah, read the room, buddy.
And then you can do what you're gonna. Because like, yeah, sure. If it's one of those moments where it's just like, oh, hey, this thing, you catch this thing sneaking behind you and it pops up out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, well, you know, situations differ, but sometimes I've had players before who wouldn't let me finish narrating while I'm trying to like explain something, and they're just like, "No, but I'm doing this," and it's just like, okay, well, let me finish narrating and you can decide to do it. And I've done it before where I've changed my narration in the middle, where it was going to be some wandering salesman with information, and I've just been like, "Oh, hey, guess what? Now it's a mind flayer." And they're just like, "What?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, you just fireball the mind flayer. Have fun."
I had the party
you want to act
in a
up?
I had the party in a one-shot, basically investigate a haunted ship, and the ship was capsized, but they were inside, and they were going down the lower levels to the cannons, trying to just get to the base of the ship, and they kept hearing a bunch of creepy crawly stuff. And when they go to light the torch, I was in the middle of narration, and they saw the little the crawling hands come up to them. It was like 20 of them, just it's all over the place. And in the middle of me narrating, like describing the room, because somebody was like, "How far are we from the stairs? How many cannons do we see?" Anybody who's been on a ship knows if you've got cannons, you got gunpowder.
Yep.
So in the middle of me describing, I didn't get to the point of, gunpowder barrels, the 20, 30, 40 barrels of presumed gunpowder barrels.
Yep.
The witch was like, "Nope, fireball. I'll just take all of them." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because there's more stuff. It's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna cast fireball." So instead of changing the gunpowder barrels to something else or taking it away completely, I said, "Okay. What's the range of fireball again?" Okay, cool. So here's the map that I had already pre-built, and here's all of the items that they were there. I did not make this to fuck with you. I made this yesterday. You sure you want to cast Fireball? Well, I've already said I've done it. All right, cool. Here's your actions. So roll, and I had to calculate it and pull out my calculator and find out how much each gunpowder barrel does when it explodes and the range of each one, and then chain reaction. And what was it, Luna? It was like 147.
It was so many D8s. No one would have survived it.
Yeah, it was like
Which no one did.
Yeah, it was 148 D8 damage,
Yeah.
and they're level 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is why you. And it's moments like those where I'm like, all right, when I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. When the DM speaks, everyone should pay heed. Not because I'm controlling, not because of narcissism, but because literally things like this. You just killed your entire party. Yes, it's a one shot, but you just killed your entire party. So now it's over. We were only this was planned for 5 hours. You only got 2 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll never know what the ending was.
And to add to that too, because like I tell my players all the time, hey, even if you listen passively, still listen and don't talk. Because like there'll be times I'll be doing like a dream sequence or like a memory flash for one or two characters, and then I'll rope another character into it. Be like, and like if they're being disruptive, if they're just like fucking around doing whatever, or they're having side conversations. Like I'll tell people all the time, be like, hey, by the way, your character while this is going on. And it's like, and like I tell people all the time, especially at the very start of the game, if I say, are you sure? That's your one warning. Like I don't, because like I've had the both blessing and curse of running for very large tables of like 8 players, 9 players. So it's like I have to manage my time very specifically. And so like if you say you're doing something and I say, are you sure? If you say go ahead, like, okay, that's it. Consequences. Like the dildo of consequences rarely comes lewd.
Yep. That's why I'm super
consequences.
Ooh, which
That's why I'm super blessed with the table I have now.
I was gonna say, was it Matthew Mercer or was it Brendan Lee Mulligan who's like, look, I really support player agency and I will do a lot as DM to support player agency, but at the same time, you're sitting there as the DM with the consequences mallet ready.
I think that one was Brennan.
Yeah, that sounds like Brennan.
That's why I'm like super like happy with my current table. It's my wife, my good buddies, the real estate rogue. Like his son and my daughter go to school together. We met at his birthday, and he was like, "I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but no one would ever teach me." I'm like, fuck it, let's go.
It's never too late.
Yep, trials and tribulations, getting rid of some of the not getting rid of, but some people ended up leaving because situations and personal drama that I want no part of. This table is by far the best table. Everybody gets into role play. Everybody, you know, the ones and twosies is like, all right, bring it down, talking too loud. Because I'm not against, like, if they're getting ready to deal with combat and 2 of the players are trying to come up with a strategy, I'm not against that. Yeah. But if Nate and I are going back and forth because I'm Nate's target, and me and Nate are going back and forth, and John and Spencer are getting a little bit loud, I hear that they're talking about, like, if I come around here, like, look over here, like, you see the citadel over here, like, we can't, or not, you see the this stuff. I get that, and that's awesome, and I love it. I'm not saying no. Bring it down.
Yeah, just dial the volume down.
But fucking John and Spencer talking about TikTok and cosplay bitches, I'm like, nah, stop talking. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I think that's about a good time to call it, huh?
I think that's a pretty productive one, too.
Yeah, we got way off topic again, but honestly, we did a lot more this time around. So I got some more stuff for us to discuss for
Cat,
later.
we were actually productive, like adults.
Yeah, we were productive, guys.
By the way, I want you to know, and I am volunteering myself the next time this group runs a game as DM, just because I got an idea and I really want to do it.
Okay.
It's like I was joking around about the isekai
The
thing, and I was
isekai,
like,
yeah.
but I was just like, what would be a fun setting for this? Ravnica.
Stop.
Yeah,
Because I
Ravnica's-
literally was making a
Ravnica's
Ravnica
guide?
campaign. Yeah, I literally was making a Ravnica campaign about 2
Dude,
months
I could
ago.
bring Karnak back.
Before I went to school. Yeah, before I went to school, my squadron was like, because like I told you earlier, they were talking about trying to make my call sign dungeon. Literally asked me to do Ravnica because a lot of dudes that I work with, we play Magic the
Before we
Gathering
get
together
too
all
off
the time.
topic, I have an on-topic question.
What's up?
Are we doing a wrap-up, or are we just cutting it?
He wanted to jump in on something real quick, and he'll finish this thing, and then we'll cut it.
My bad.
She's waiting.
Please continue, John.
Oh yeah, no, I was just like, oh man, it would be so much fun to do Guildmaster Guide to Ravnica and because what I saw, they have like one adventure in there that's like but just the setting and everything, I'm like, oh man, the campaign you could build around this, all urban environment, no like walking through fields, like this would be so much fun to do, like not just RPG because it's a TTRPG, but like, like full on video game RPG style, like all right,
Final
Chad,
Fantasy 7 type stuff.
yeah, like all right, Chad, you're thrown into here. Pick a guild, make a character, let's go. Like
We literally did all of that. I love it. I want you to do that so bad.
oh man, could you imagine the fun of that? Also, like I gotta look because I haven't pulled the book. I don't have the book, but I'm like if the guilds don't supply like extra abilities for joining a
They do.
guild.
They do.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I haven't been able to find definites on that, so I was like, oh, but because my favorite expansion, I know the whole lore of Ravnica, and I'm just like, I want to do it.
Guildmaster's
Yeah, if I
Guide
could-
to Ravnica.
Like I will build that out of just like, isekai into Ravnica. Have fun.
That's where Karnak comes from.
Yep, because we just built my wife a squirrel deck today. And with,
I mean,
and with
I'm a
that- Oh,
I'm
go
a
ahead.
Simic player.
Sorry. Gruel, baby. And with
Ugh.
that, thank you all for joining us for our talk. May your thirst be quenched and your bellies full. And we'll see you again next time for another meal around Ganta's table. Farewell.